You keep talking trash about me. I'll gladly leave.
Oh, yes. A lot happening, to say the least, here across Major League Baseball, but specifically here in San Diego. Welcome into Gwynn and Chris, Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matt Scraby. We will be breaking down this deadline pretty much all show, but we still got another 58 minutes left before the deadline passes. Catching you up if for somehow you've been under a rock for the last 6-7 hours. Padres first upgraded a strength in their bullpen, bringing in Mason Miller, and they brought JP Sears in. Now, the flip of that is you lose DeVries and what, 3 other prospects it was?
Yes, sir. Braden Nett, who's a pretty good right-handed
Double-A
prospect. Henry Baez and another one, Eduardo Nunez, who have made a brief appearance or two.
We saw all 3 of those guys a lot during spring training.
They've all got some stuff.
Yeah, they got something there.
Yeah.
But the big piece going is Leo DeVries. And now I get the sense, I haven't looked at it myself, but hearing my colleagues and everybody else talking about it,
right?
Padre fans not necessarily feeling these moves.
Well, I don't care what they're feeling.
I love that you said that.
I'm sorry. I mean, look, we're going to tell you about the other trades too. Do you want to win the World Series, or do you want to wait around and always have a great future?
No, I think that's where everybody wants to be.
I mean, I want to win the World Series. And does Mason Miller guarantee that? No, but nothing. Neither does hanging on to Leo Dallas DeVries guarantee a World Series.
Correct.
So you're taking a risk. If you're AJ Preller, I like the fact he's got the guts to do it. If DeVries becomes Fernando Tatis or better, right? And then, okay, we're going to sit there in a couple of years and go, man, we had this guy and we let him get away. But if we win the World Series this year, I don't care if Leo DeVries becomes, the next Ted Williams. I'll take my World Series and run. So all of these trades, that one included, Tony, are designed with putting the Padres in a position to try to get a parade. I'm happy with that.
I think not only does it do that, but it also, especially in that Mason Miller JP Sears deal, is a move to kind of strengthen what your roster will be in the future. It's not just a 2025 move. Mason Miller is controllable for 5 years.
Yeah,
JP Sears is controllable for another 2 years. That's a rotation piece right there. You look like, I mean, we don't know how it's going to play out, but you do know that Michael King and Dylan Cease are both free agents at the end of the year. My guess is that one of them comes back for sure,
and one probably
doesn't. And so you kind of short up kind of your starting rotation a little bit from that standpoint. Listen, DeVries seemingly was going to be the linchpin in any big move happening, whether you're talking Duran, whether you're talking who are some of the other names out there we heard?
Even Steven Kwan,
exactly.
Eugenio Suarez, not that he was on our particular radar, but yeah, any big trade was going to they were going to want him. Again, it's a risk, okay, but you don't win without rolling the dice sometimes.
I might feel differently if that risk was we had seen DeVries at the big league level do some things,
tear it up.
That might make me feel a little bit different.
Well, I know everybody's going to say, well, look at what we did, how stupid we were with the Nationals. Okay, do we have to go through this again?
We should go ahead for him.
Let's go through it again. James Wood is a great little young player. So is the shortstop, C.J. Abrams. So is a pitcher, Mackenzie Gore. And what has it got the Washington Nationals? Last place, and their general manager and manager being fired. The Nationals may eventually build a team around those guys.
How long?
Exactly. How long you want to wait? The Padres are giving us, the fans, the people of this city who have waited, I believe now we're up on 56 years, a legitimate shot to win it. We didn't necessarily have a legitimate shot when we woke up this morning. So I'm good with this. It may work, it may not. but that's going to be Monday morning quarterback in my mind. I am for this particular trade for sure. And the other thing you said too, Tony, if you lose Cease, you're going to have Sears, and he's cheaper and more controllable. If you lose Suarez, because he is also a free agent at the end of the year, you're going to have your closer already in place for the next 5 years beyond that. It's funny because people are going to say, well, this trade is not about the future. It kind of is too. Yeah. As you said, Tony, it's about this year and the future. Loved this one.
Okay, the Padres then followed that move up with a little bit of a lesser highlight move, but they bring in Freddie Fermin from the Royals. They give up Brian Burgert and Stephen Kolek. Now, those two guys, personally, pretty high on. But I also know that the catching spot, specifically from an offensive standpoint, kind of leaves some more to be desired, right?
Hasn't been good. It hasn't been good. You can say it.
This addresses that, right? For those who don't watch baseball like I do, you may not be familiar with Freddie Fermin and his game. He's not necessarily going to be like a Mike Piazza of the world, but he certainly is an upgrade offensively at the position.
Okay, so now I hate this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just say that.
That's fair.
And again, we can Monday morning quarterback if Fermin wins the World Series for me. But I don't like this one. And the main reason I don't like it is probably because I've not seen Freddie Fermin play enough. Obviously the Padres love this guy. The numbers do not back up the fact that he's anything tremendously special. He hit 271 last year. He's at 255 this year. Not a lot of power. Defensively, I'm sure he's, could be an upgrade. He could be similar. I think he'll be a little better, but this doesn't move the needle for me. But here's why I don't like the trade. I was really high on both Burgert and Kolek. And if you ask me, either one of those should have been enough to get Freddie Fermin, let alone both of them.
If we want to ask the guy that hasn't seen Freddie Fermin play at all, and so go back, because I believe you were one of the main ones asking for catching help.
Sure.
He got you some catching help, but you don't think that
I think we gave up
too much.
I think so.
Let's move to the next one.
All right.
The last one is just kind of hit, and we don't really have complete details. Do we?
Because I like this. We do or don't?
We do have more details.
All right. So Padres trade for Baltimore's Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano. And for those who might have caught us during the roundtable, these are two players I mentioned by name specifically.
Yes, you did.
And they ended up coming to the Padres. What is the return on that?
The return, according to Dennis Lynn, is Boston Bateman and infielder Brandon Butterworth. I guess there's more prospects, but those two are the ones that Dennis Lynn is reporting right now.
Okay. So both of those guys were spring training vets. They were there for a lot of the time. I remember talking about their names quite a bit. This is a good move for the Padres.
Do you want to ask me what I think?
Well, you said you liked it. I thought I heard you say that.
Well, I said I liked it so far, but I hadn't heard who we were giving up.
Okay, go ahead. What do you think?
Now,
he loves
me
it.
if I like it.
How do you feel about this move?
He's dancing. He's dancing because they're getting rid of prospects.
Because we're getting that's right,
but
baby.
Hey, Ryan Burger and Stephen Kolek, they might technically be prospects, but they're not anymore.
But I've seen what they can do, and this is why I didn't like that trade.
I can't be mad at somebody that is a little tight about that particular trade.
But this one I love because I love getting rid of prospects, and everyone's going to tell me that Boston Bateman will be the greatest player in history. Maybe he will, but I want anyone out there to name. Give me 3 of the 10 prospects that Padres traded away at last year's trade deadline, if you can remember any of them.
Grant Pauly.
That's my whole thing with these prospects. They're all prospects until they can do something.
Woo Suck Go.
Thank you, Scrappy, for helping me out.
He went to Miami, if you were
yeah, he did. Jacob
and then I believe
Marzi,
he got designated thereafter, by the way. He did
get DFA'd.
But I will say this. Everyone we traded was like, we can't live without this person in our farm system. Well, apparently we can. Yeah. Again, Ryan O'Hearn and Laureano are 2 really solid players. They play the outfield. O'Hearn plays first base. They both can DH. There's a righty and a lefty. it makes the team better, and it immediately makes the bench better, Tony. We've talked about this. They have extra guys now that can play, come off the bench. Are we in a better position to win now? This,
I don't think there's any question.
Right?
I don't think there's any question.
That's why I don't think there's
that last trade that just went down. Padres acquire infielder Will Wagner from the Blue Jays in exchange for Brandon Venezuela, catcher, prospect for the Padres. I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about Will Wagner. I'm assuming this is a bench spot, that could be up for grabs here. My guess is he got to be left-handed, right?
Will Wagner. He just came. This one just came in.
This one just popped up.
Look him up here. He's only been around for a little bit of time.
He's he's lefty.
Lefty. Yep, so now you got a left hand, right hand bench guys off the bench in Iglesias and now Will Wagner. What does that mean for T. Wade? What does that mean for some of the other bench pieces that are there? But I don't think there's any question that the Padres got better at this deadline.
Can we also just add to, if you're going to focus, you want to focus on O'Hearn, you want to focus on Laureano, you want to focus on the pitching, starting pitching, the lineup. Can we just mention, at least for today, they might have the best bullpen I've ever seen. They have 5 closer type arms now in the bullpen. I don't know any team that's ever had this. So this is incredible strength.
Listen, this is,
and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with it.
I don't know that this should be that much of a surprise. I mean,
I know
AJ last year went out and got the top closer that was on the market, even though the Padres had one, and it served them very well through the rest of the season. So we'll see how this unfolds. We got a lot to get to. I don't want to mess up Clark's last name. Can you help me with that, Clark?
Farenthold.
Farenthold?
Yep.
Farenthold. Clark Farenthold covers Padres for San Diego Union Tribune and Mad Fryer, He will join us here in the next segment. He's probably going to be with us for quite a bit. We're going to be breaking down this trade deadline. He does great work. This is exciting. I'm pumped right now. So,
exactly, Tony. That's what we want, I think.
It seems like that's the way we all.
I'm just upset that I'll never get to see Brandon Valenzuela at the big league level.
Let's get to break. More Gwynn and Chris.
If you watch the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
I'm just like people are just like crushing me for everything I said today. So I'm going to be extremely annoying.
More Gwynn and Chris on the other side.
You feel.
There's Roadrunner. Meet me. He doesn't like me. I guess I wouldn't like me either if I was chasing me. As you can see, I'm all Aztec'd out here at the Aztec Baseball Tournament. It's the SDSU Baseball Alumni Tournament. Right now, we are 1 under in the scramble. And Chris is playing well, Tony's playing well. But our ringer, Jack Townsend, is playing really well. So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet.
Thank you very much, Greg. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not usually complimentary to you, but I can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making today.
With my what?
Your shot making. You've hit some.
We are League 10 now, and it's getting really windy. It's actually kind of cold. I'm not gonna lie, I know we're in San Diego, but we're 3 under as a group. We just got off the birdie, and I just hit my defense. There's a squirrel. He wants to attack me. Squirrely! We just got our second birdie of the day thanks to this guy.
Yeah, a 4-footer after.
It was a 5-footer.
After our pro drove it 300 to the front of the green and then chipped it within 5 feet.
Uh-oh.
Gravy, don't feed the animals.
Don't feed the animals. I do feed animals, but Chris made a birdie putt. Leaving the golf course. And We ended up shooting 63 once everything was accounted for, since it was a scramble, and we had an SDSU golf player, Jack Townsend. He was with us, and he did a lot for us. I think we shot 63 because of him, but we all had a good time. There's Roadrunner. Meet me. He doesn't like me. I guess I wouldn't like me either if I was chasing me. As you can see, I'm all Aztec out here at the Aztec baseball tournament. It's the SDSU baseball alumni tournament. Right now, we are 1 under in the scramble, and Chris is playing well, Tony's playing well, but our ringer, Jack Townsend, is playing really well, so. So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet.
Thank you very much, Greg. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not usually complimentary to you, but I can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making today.
With my what?
Your shot making. You've hit some.
We are league 10 now, and it's getting really windy. It's actually kind of cold. I'm not gonna lie, I know we're in San Diego, but we're 3 under as a group. We just got off the birdie, and I just hit my defense. There's a squirrel. He wants to attack me.
Squirrely.
With our guy, Clark Farrenthal. Very nice to join us from the UT Mad Friars. Clark, welcome. Look forward to getting some of your thoughts. Before that, though, I just want to update everybody else who's kind of keeping an eye on the trade deadline. Some, bigger names here have moved this, in the last couple of hours, including Carlos Correa going back to the Astros. The Yankees have just picked up another closer, David Bednar from Pittsburgh. The Mets looking for a center fielder. Got Cedric Mullins from Baltimore. We had Detroit pick up 2 relievers today, Paul Sewald and Kyle Finnegan from Washington. And then we're going to talk about this a little bit too, Tony, as we go along, and the trade deadline isn't over. But so far, the only thing we've heard from the Dodgers is Twins reliever Brock Stewart. That's pretty quiet for the Dodgers.
Former Dodger.
At this point of the trade deadline day, but there's still some time to go. Clark and I just met each other, but I already know that we don't think alike. He loves prospects. I could,
this should be good radio.
That's right. Don't let the door hit him on the way out. The Padres have parted with today, Clark, and what it means to people that care about prospects more than I do.
Yeah, for people like myself who sometimes like to look into the future a little bit as well. But I understand both schools of thought. There's the idea of winning now and shedding off whatever you need to do so, and some foolish people, I guess, maybe in your mind, like me, who like to hold on to guys a little bit tighter.
For the record, I don't think people who think that way are
absolutely
foolish.
Not.
But most of them are younger and haven't had to endure losing as long as some of us have.
We've gone through 56 seasons, Clark. You're not even half that age, I don't think. So
fair enough. Well, today there has been a lot of moves. Obviously, you guys have pointed out. I think the big one that's best to start with first is the one with the now Sacramento A's, with Mason Miller coming over, JP Sears also being the Friars. We had him as our top ranked prospect going into the season. He had played like that all the way through, truthfully. When you look at a player like Leo, Fort Wayne being in the Midwest League is typically more of a hitters friendly area for most guys. Leo went in there 116 WRC plus to start off. That's really good for a guy who's 4 years younger than his average competition. Plate discipline continued to be really elite. We're talking about a teenager that's walking at a 14% clip at that level. You know, it actually had success against other guys you saw in the Futures game, like Gage Jump before he got his promotion, had a couple knocks, I believe, off Burns over there, who now pitches for Cincinnati Reds. So there had been a lot of impressive marks on that. In terms of batted ball data, I mean, putting up really nice exit velocities just the other day on a walk-off, 108 line drive off the wall, home run that left his bat at 109.
Hey.
Bat speed had been really, really solid too.
Chris just go, oi.
I did. I mean, we're going to have to pay, you know, for this guy's going to obviously, you know, he sounds like a can't miss. So.
No, Leo's someone who, from my evaluations and looking at it, I think from a lot of the people too, are very high. I think he's someone who can be sort of that all-star caliber player if everything pans out. Now, the defense had been shaky at times this year, a little bit errors, specifically more on the throwing end. I don't know if it'll be a conversation.
I don't know. There's no more space to move another shortstop somewhere else now.
Exactly. So Leo is an extremely talented ball player that is a very large, in my eyes, that's a big departure from the organization, no doubt.
He's got the makeup too. That was the thing I noticed in spring training. I mean, this young man show up, one of the first ones there, get his work in, and just was a sponge. Talk a little bit about some of the other prospects that, I mean, everybody knows about Leo DeVries, but some of these other guys that went away. Talk a little bit about some of these guys.
Yeah, I think another guy that certainly has picked up maybe on people who enjoy watching the minor leagues a little more is Braden Nett. He's someone who I had an opportunity to talk to during the period of spring training when I was out there with some of my fellow riders over at Mad Friars. I mean, a great story in itself. If you want to talk about probably one of the better scouting successes that you could have in Major League Baseball, this kid was an undrafted free agent, was working shifts at Home Depot when he actually signed his contract with the San Diego Padres. He had dropped out of college, went into the draft league, and only thrown 16 innings. Padres identified him. He had been excellent in the Texas League this year. He was top 10 in FIP, XFIP, ERA, strikeout rate. 6-7 pitch guy, really plus spin rates all around. Fastball was sitting 95 to 96, topping out at 99. Great shapes on it.
I had heard, this was July, basically. I probably heard back in May that there were some pitching developments in that Double-A team that started to kind of bubble. Now, I knew Nett was one of them. Any of these other guys on that list that were part of that pitching duo?
Yeah, you know, I mean, they have kept some of the guys down there. Jagger Hayes is still around, but there are also two big departures. Another one being Henry Baez, someone who was added to the 40-man, who was a part of this deal with the A's. Baez is a guy, he had reworked his slider grip this offseason. Going into last year, it was a little bit slurvy, not as tight as you would want it. It changed his grip, got a little bit tighter, was getting more swing and miss on it. His changeup was really solid. The one thing that was really interesting about him, and talking to Luke Montz when I was out there in San Antonio, his manager, just the competitive edge that he would go out there and pitch with.
That's what I kept hearing about.
Bulldog mentality all day. And he's someone who would start 93, 94 early innings, but by the time he's fifth, sixth inning, he's throwing at 97 with great horizontal movement there on the sinker. So he's someone who has, I would say, maybe a little bit more on results over true stuff, but he's someone who can be a back end of a rotation guy, certainly. And then another name that just popped up who is heading to Baltimore, as part of the Ryan O'Hearn deal, relief pitcher Tyson Neighbors. He had just fast tracked through the minors, was really solid.
He looked good in spring training too. He got to throw a couple innings there. And I remember turning to Jesse and like, hey, man, that dude looked like he might be somebody.
Yeah, no, Tyson's a guy that I think, again, someone who likes the pitch modeling data and stuff like that. He's sort of maybe a little bit the darling in that sense, in that the fastball would be 94, 95, get it to 97. But when you're running it up there with 22 inches of induced vertical break, that thing looks like it's rising up to your eyes. Throws a really nasty gyro slider, had worked in a cutter too that had a really solid shape. Walks at times have been a little bit of a concern with him, but when you get guys to chase outside of the zone and strike out guys about a 30% rate like he had done across the minor league level, he's someone who could be a really lethal bullpen arm later on down the line. But San Antonio certainly had a plethora of names that had excelled really as a group down there for sure.
Do the Padres still have beyond Ethan Salas? Do they have enough to field the teams down in the minor leagues? They traded, I think it was 10 prospects at the deadline last year. Mm-hmm. I haven't added how many today, 5, 6, 7. Part of that, you got to give the Padres credit. They keep producing these guys that other people want. But, I will ask for those who are thinking it, mm-hmm. have they left themselves too bare? I mean, after all, whatever is worth for ESPN, they gave them a D+ for that Oakland trade. ESPN gave the Padres a D+. They think they, can't afford to give up this much.
ESPN is much like my friend Clark here.
They a little bit more like me.
I'm giving you what they said.
Yeah, so, look, I mean, I will say this. AJ, if he has proven anything over years, is the ability to restock and find these guys, whether
fast.
Quickly too. I mean, look, Leo Dallas Freeze obviously being a top international free agent guy. They had Salas just, the year prior. He's able to excel in the international free agency period and getting these guys over here. I think already though in the system, and I've talked about this with people, I think the system is a better spot now. It might be a little bit different now that they've shipped some of these guys out there, but there was more depth than I think major publications wanted to give them credit for.
That's the same thing I kept hearing as well.
So I think if you look across it just through, even you go back to high A Fort Wayne, like if you want to go to a guy like Miguel Mendez, he's someone who has flourished down there in Fort Wayne. He has a sub 1.75 ERA, fastball, can touch 100. He's a lengthy guy, not a lot to him, sort of more that tall, slendery build.
A lot of limbs,
a lot of action. Yeah, but then slider, great depth. Changeup is excellent. That's someone to me who I'm like, okay, you can go around with.
All right, I got the full list of prospects.
Real quick, Merrill Kelly goes to the Rangers from the Diamondbacks.
Well, I'm not seeing
Zach Gallen is he still on the board? I haven't seen anything on him yet. All right.
I'll give you the prospects, and then we'll go to break and we'll discuss on the other side. But this is from John Morosi. Boston Bateman, Cobb Hightower, Victor Figueroa, Tyson Neighbors, Brandon Butterworth, Tanner Smith.
So that's 6 guys.
Yes. That
is
how many of those guys that he named are dudes?
Off the top.
So off the top of my head, I'm saying Brandon Butterworth, sneaky guy. I would say he's a gamer.
Infielder,
he's a gamer. I think that's the best way to describe him. He has gone on a power surge here recently. I want to say over the last month and a half, he had a WRC plus over 150. He had 7 home runs logged up. He just had another one the other day. Another multi-hit. Actually, his last hit as a foreign weight tip cap was a walk-off single last night to score Leo.
Nice.
But I think also going through that list, Tyson Neighbors is another guy who I've loved since his drafting out of Kansas State. Figueroa, I mean, I could go through all these guys, but if you were to say the top 3 that I'm looking at right now from that group, I'm like, hey, I think there's going to be gamers. I would go right now and say Butterworth. I would say Neighbors. I would say probably Boston Bateman falls underneath that cabinet. But I think all those guys for Baltimore, that's a really good haul. They gave up a lot to get O'Hearn, to get a lot to get
Of course. Yes, they gave up 10 prospects today, including DeVries, 10 last year.
It's a lot.
It's enough to make Clark, Farenthold, and a lot of these minor league experts, double take. But I'm still happy. We'll talk more about what the Padres got today and what still might be, in the works. And, we'll break it all down. I think kind of look at it from what it means for, the rest of this season, the lineup and moving forward. We continue with a lot more Gwynn and Chris on trade day.
Gwynn and Chris on the Fan.
Matthew Scravey, joined by Clark Farnthal. Does a terrific job for San Diego Union Tribune and Mad Friars, breaking down all of the prospects that Chris and I may not be as familiar with. I'm probably a little bit more.
I'm never going to get familiar with them, as it turns out, Tony.
I'm probably a little more familiar than Chris.
Your lack of care for prospects is through the roof.
It is because, all right, look, I'm glad you brought this up.
Oh,
and then I'm
good.
Now I'm going to turn it over back to Clark and all this talk, because I mean what I said. What Clark and the way he goes about it, and Karen, that's imperative. You got to have these guys to interest other teams. But I do want to say this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Last year, when they traded 10 prospects away, I'm pretty sure I heard, oh no, now they don't have anybody left.
Yes.
Except for
10 more
DeVries
guys
and Salas.
The 10 more guys they flipped this year.
Apparently, they did have guys left, because 9 more guys on top of DeVries went today.
Yeah.
That tells me that, as you said, Tony, AJ develops these prospects pretty good.
Yeah. Clark hit
and
on
if
it
you want
earlier.
to say they don't have any, don't be careful, because they might have a whole bunch more, too.
I think a lot of times, too, what happens, remember, you're dealing with publications in this, and there's relationships that are involved in these publications when they are putting together these lists of top 10. Don't get me wrong, they do their homework, but, the Padres certainly, based on what we saw today, had a bit better farm system than they were probably given credit for.
I think so.
If you got the pieces in return that you got, and so
somebody liked who they had in the farm system.
I think it's important to recognize that an organization's prospects aren't just made up of the first 10 that we typically hear about. Depth and all of that is important, because because what happens every year around June, teams start sending their scouts out to the minor league spots, and they start evaluating. And that's where you really find out how good your farm system is, because now you got the big league scouts who are evaluating these guys, because, listen, their jobs are on the line, because if they put the wrong name down and they give up a guy who turns out to be, a superstar, you can lose your job over that. So it's not an exact science, but clearly the Padres had a better farm system than what we thought. All right, so we cleared all that out. We talked about the prospects. Let's talk about the now. How does this team look now? You've acquired bullpen help. You've acquired starting pitching help. You've acquired bench help. You've acquired perhaps bottom of the lineup help for this ball club. Am I missing anything?
Yes, you're missing the bench is way better now, right?
That said bench piece.
Oh, did you say it?
Okay.
Okay.
I said bench
All
piece.
right. Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's part of it also.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at the lineup this way. First base, Arise, O'Hearn. One can play first, the other can DH. Cronenworth, Bogarts, Iglesias backing up, Machado. Outfield, now you can do a platoon if you want, or you can use Sheets both ways if you want. But Laureano is a right-handed hitter in left field as well.
Good defender.
And then Merrill and Tatis. You've added Fermin. I think, personally, they'll probably keep Maldonado. I just think Schilt likes him. It is more comfortable with him, but one of the catchers has to go. And then one of these guys has to go among Bryce Johnson, T. Wade. Actually, two of these have to go. Bryce Johnson, T. Wade, and Trenton Brooks. They only can keep one of those. So, that's what it looks like. It's a much better lineup. But here's the thing that I love, Tony, and I think you would have probably agree. Now, you could have a game where O'Hearn is on the bench.
Yep.
Or Laureano. These guys both have 800 OPSs.
Yep.
Padres don't have starters, some that don't have 800 OPSs. Finally, they have somebody that Mike Schilt can go to at the end of the, near the end of the game.
And, I think regardless, the 7, 8, 9 spots. Remember, Padres had basically, I thought Schilt did a great job when he recognizes he moves Cronenworth down into that 7, 8 spot, because it was really the only stability that you had offensively by moving him down here. Now, I mean, that lineup gets long now. You got, whether it's O'Hearn DHing, Sheets DHing, and you're putting him in the 7, 8 spot. Sheets hit 8th yesterday. Having that 2-run shot in the 8th spot yesterday.
He's batted 8th twice this year, Tony. Opening day and yesterday. And he's homered in both games.
Both games.
So just something to throw in.
Fuck, what you got?
So look, I actually think one question I would just have thinking about it would be in terms of the roster right now as it stands, with departure of Kolek and Bergert.
Yeah.
With you guys, is there any concern on the back end of the rotation?
Yep.
I mean, I think it's, to me, a fair question to that extent, because you were getting meaningful innings at a Kolek. You were getting meaningful innings at a Bergert.
For sure.
And I think moving forward, too, just from a standpoint of baseball ops, they would have been cheap, controllable players that you could have had for a number of years. I'll be interested to see how they sort of fill in that back end, because you still have Kyle Hart. You still have Matt Waldron down there in AAA. Now, obviously, with the bullpen being expanded, you can shorten games to an extent. But I think that's something that pops into my head is, okay, where do you go to sort of fill in that fifth spot? Or if you need someone to eat innings, where do you go with that?
I think there'll be some comfort there with Waldron. He's been in this spot before, pitching in that back end. And again, because your bullpen is so deep, you're not asking for a ton out of your fourth and fifth starter. Vasquez is, I think, on the cusp of turning the corner, finally embracing being a pitch to contact guy. I don't know if you guys notice, you watch him a lot. He gets ahead and then he starts trying to punch guys out. He overcooks it. And then all of a sudden he's 2-2, 3-2. And then it's 7-8 pitches into the at bat. And sometimes he eventually will get the out. But I think a couple things. They were good enough to just develop, I think, Bergert and Kolek in a way that they could move them. And I think that gives them confidence that they'll be able to keep doing it. But I do look at Vasquez and Waldron as those two guys that are going to round out that back end of that rotation. Because if all of a sudden, if Cease is actually, we've got about another 18 minutes.
Yeah, doesn't look like he's going now.
It doesn't at this point. Doesn't look like he's.
I don't know. I don't know if this is just the Twitter reporters trying to get me all riled up.
You got to be careful, dog.
No, these are the real reporters, but they're saying that the Dylan Cease, Jeff Passan, is saying that the Dylan Cease trade talks are intensifying.
Okay, well, we got 17 minutes.
And Kevin Acey said that they've got their bats, but they're likely not done yet.
So I guess, here's a question on the Cease end. Should they go out there and do it? I think it would be interesting from a couple prongs. I believe if you depart from Cease and you take him over to Houston, you get that luxury tax knockoff. I think that would take you below that number, which would be big for the offseason. Which is
probably why they're interested in it.
Which I think so too. And I also think if you look at Houston right now, there's a name that I think could be intriguing to go after if you want a controllable. I don't know if they want to deal with him. I know he's been dealing with a broken finger. Spencer Arangetti. I
saw him earlier.
I don't know if that would be a player that they would be willing to part with because he was so effective last year. I believe we saw him last year in San Diego. Merrill did take him deep to straightaway center, but I think there's a multifaceted reasoning for still wanting to maybe move off Cease if you can get control back and also get rid of and be under that luxury tax threshold.
Not only that, you might be able to get more than just Arangetti, right? Because it's a rental for them, but you also could possibly, maybe kind of reestablish some guys, some minor league guys you could get back on top of, or you could get Arangetti. I mean, it could go a couple of different ways. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that one goes, because it certainly felt like yesterday the Astros were, going pretty hard at him, but now it's kind of simmered down a little bit. But now these Twitter reports seem like maybe it does go down.
I want to address what Clark asked about the trade of Kolek and Bergert.
Yeah, because this one hurts
because you weren't in there, in here yet. I don't like that one. And the reason I don't is because those guys aren't prospects. I've seen what they can do. Yep. I know they can compete at the big league level and give you a chance to win. I think this is too much. Now, Fermin might prove me wrong, but at the moment, I feel like we gave a way too much to get one catcher who's an upgrade, but I only see it as a slight upgrade. And it does weaken the depth in the starting rotation. And now, as of the moment, if C stays, Vasquez, when King returns, becomes the number 6 guy.
That's
Waldron behind that, Kyle Hart behind that.
That's depth.
So maybe you do have depth. But if Cease gets traded, they could still use Kolek and Bergert. This is the trade I'm not thrilled with.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you watch Kolek, to your point this year, and with Bergert, both of those guys had really proven that they can get guys out effectively at the major league level. Fermin, too, as a return, to his credit, has put up back-to-back 2 WAR seasons over there in Kansas City.
I watched him play the last couple of years. I was impressed with him. I don't know that he's the defender, but certainly with the bat, he can do some things.
They say he's a run stopping arm guy.
He's
Tony.
great.
He is a 90th percentile pop time guy by Major League
Even
standards.
better.
So he's
that maybe explain why I didn't see him throw because no one ran on him during that.
It's a difficult task for me. And his numbers in terms of framing are solid. I think the same thing with blocking. He's solid on that end. The offense this year has been interesting. I think over his career, 91 WRC plus, only about a 5% barrel rate, but he's hitting around 260. So while it's not loud contact, as long as he can put it in play often enough, which is what we know the San Diego Padres like as their offensive profile, as guys that are more adherent to make contact than they are to whiff or chase, swing and miss, he could in theory fit that. But I do tend to agree. I think when looking at Fermin, considering what they gave up, that I don't know if there's such a huge upside. I think it's very similar in terms of profile to what Elias Diaz is right now. So you, in a way, maybe have two of those players type now for giving up two controllable arms. That
seems to me.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to be critical of that one until proven wrong. And when I'm proven wrong, I will sit here and go,
don't worry, I'll hold your
wrong.
feet to the fire,
you will.
buddy.
Now, like I said, the man with no memory, he remembers everything I say on stuff like that. So
fair enough. What we got going here with the beeping noise, man?
I wasn't.
He thought he's playing my the danger of me getting blown up. Let me ask you this.
No,
Clark.
this is 12 minutes left in the trade.
Oh, is that what that was supposed to be?
I messed up though.
Clark, let me ask you about control. The controllable part of Miller, et cetera, is a very enticing thing. 5 years. What about the contract situations of Sears, Miller, replacing potentially the contract situations of Cease and Suarez if they leave in free agency? Is this a benefit moving forward for next year?
Yeah. So the portion of why the asking price was so high for Miller, a big part of it was that control that you're going to get. He's not only very affordable, but he's someone who's under contract, if I'm not mistaken, for another 5 seasons. JP Sears, I think when you look at him, I sort of think he's maybe plateaued a little bit in terms of what he can be, which is a solid back-end starter. I mean, he's a left-hander. He can get you innings and stuff like that. I can't remember. They might try to, I think adding a sinker for him could be useful, trying to get a little more ground ball rate. And look, Ruben Niebla has proven time and time again, bringing in a guy like Martin Perez last season, being able to get effective innings out of that. I'm sure he could, conduct some sort of similar results with a guy like JP Sears. Now, one question I think will be interesting with Mason Miller is that this is a guy that does have prior starter experience. Now, I don't know if that will be a conversation that after this season, will they go to him and say, hey, can we give the starting thing another shot? I do recall, though, Saris had said when he had conversations with Mason Miller that he was hesitant to go back to starting.
He had a lot of injuries.
He had a lot of injuries. Yeah. So, I don't know if there will be discussions there on that end, because that would make, if you could turn Miller back into a starter, because the stuff is great. And if you can have him stay healthy and you can have him as that for 5 years, okay, if he develops nicely, and again, health is a big part of it, that's a huge get. If you have someone with that kind of stuff who can go out there.
Padres are indeed not done yet, gentlemen.
Oh, I know. I just saw this.
Padres acquired Nestor Cortez from the Brewers in a deal. Don't know who's going to the Brewers. I'm leery of trading with the Brew Crew, man. They got some voodoo magic that they like to put on their trades.
Pitching machine over there.
Yeah,
man.
they do.
We got one good guy from the Brew Crew way back when.
Oh yeah, back in the day. He was all right. He was good. It also looks like the Dodgers have made their first move. Dustin May going to Boston.
Yes.
Don't know who's coming in return at this point.
Yeah, the Dustin May, they've been kind of he was starting to say goodbye last week.
It certainly seemed like that, right?
So, all right. Well, I wonder, what the Dodgers are. Look, the Padres. I love this.
Wait, real quick. That kind of addresses that kind of addresses the depth issue with the pitching. You got another starter there.
Right now, you really do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got 9 starters who have started a big league game this season.
Yeah.
On your let's see. Yeah, all of them have started the game. That's 9 guys who've started this season. 5 or 6 of them are pretty darn good. So maybe they could afford Bergert and Kolek more. But I still, for me,
I'm with you. That one,
for me.
That's the only one to me that that stings a little bit.
Can I bring up?
I don't know if I said this the other day, but when the Padres had, I think Bergert's last start at home before this most recent one was a national game. and Adam Wainwright was doing the game, and that was like one of the first people he asked me about. It wasn't any of the big name guys. He said, "What's up with this Burger guy, man? He's nasty." And so, I mean, that's probably, an indicator of why a team like the Royals wanted him, so badly.
No, there's a lot of upside with his arsenal for
sure.
I don't understand this Nestor Cortez trade at all, and we don't know the return or anything like that. He's a free agent after this year.
What is it you don't understand?
He hasn't pitched all year. He is 1-1 with a 9 ERA in his 2 games.
You know whose
started.
numbers look like that when the Padres traded for him last year?
Who?
Martin Perez.
It's going to be Brandon Lockridge for Cortez.
There you go.
Okay.
According to Mark Feinstein.
With all due respect, he helped. I really enjoyed getting to know him, but he's not really even being used.
Right.
So
he's in AAA right now.
It's not. That's okay with me. You said Cortez has an ERA of what, Scrape?
9, but that was all in one game when he gave up like a bunch of home runs.
What was Darvish's ERA before yesterday?
Oh,
that doesn't count though because Darvish is a proven player.
I mean,
Cortez has been in the big leagues.
He ain't done Darvish's level,
a while. Yeah, Nestor Cortez is a legit
last
player.
year he was 9-10. He did have a 3.77 ERA.
We get to see the tricks he does on the.
Do we or I just don't understand.
He's got 34 and 22. He's 12 games over 500, 3.88, 1.17 career WHIP. I think that as a legit pitcher, more strikeouts than innings pitched. So you're saying he's not proven anything.
What I'm saying is that he hasn't proven anything this year.
His bad start came on the torpedo bats.
It was
debut.
Yes,
that's what set the torpedo bat on fire early. Clark, you got something to say?
No. I'm just thinking about.
Be on my side, Clark.
No, I mean the only recollection, obviously, the torpedo bat game was something that I recall. The last time I saw Nestor Cortez before that was the Freddie Freeman walk-off
gave up the grand slam to Freddie
Freeman,
didn't he? Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Good memory.
Yeah.
That's also another memory that I have.
Padres are good at being able to, you come to the Dodgers, you don't face them, you don't pitch against them well, they will move you out of that particular day rotation.
Yeah, that was his last moment for the Yankees, I think. He might have come into another game and Aaron Boone was booed vociferously for ever using him again after that grand slam.
People are telling me it's an upside trade, which I understand. If he performs, then that's fine. But losing Brandon Lockridge,
it's low risk.
Yes,
is what
low
it is.
risk is a good way of putting it.
Here's the deal with Michael King out for now. Cortez gives them the ability, if he can pitch, of having a 6-man rotation when they want to. And that gives Darvish the kind of rest he needs. That's what I think it does for the short term.
Did you see the results after his 6-day wait this last time? That was,
yesterday?
That was pretty good.
I did see that game, Tony.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed it immensely.
I don't know if that's something.
That could be something, Scrape, is all I'm saying. I don't know. Maybe this gives them the ability to, have that sixth guy.
I would not be surprised at all if that's the thinking in order to try to get as much out of Darv as you possibly can.
One thing I do know is that they have way more information than I do. So.
That's always. Let's get to the 3:00 hour. Daily Gambit, right?
We're gonna wrap up.
We're
going off the beaten path today. We got AJ Preller live.
Sorry,
press conference,
degenerates out there, you will not get your Daily Gambit. We will continue down the hot stove. More on Gwynn and Chris when we return.
Christmas morning, I would think this is the day Padre fans look forward to the most. Trade deadline day, and A.J. Preller was busy. Boy, was he ever. The trade deadline is actually come and gone. 3:00 was the finish, but that doesn't mean a few trades still won't be announced here in the next little while. So don't go anywhere. If you're just tuned in, the Padres have added to their ball club the flame-throwing reliever Mason Miller and starter J.P. Sears from Oakland. They have added catcher Freddie Fermin from Kansas City. They have added outfielders Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano from Baltimore. And just a little bit ago, they tacked on left-handed pitcher Nestor Cortez from Milwaukee. The only, big name you'll even know is Brandon Lockridge. Went back to Milwaukee. 10 prospects were traded today. I should mention Kolek and Bergert. That was in the Fermin trade. They did leave. And then Leo Dallas DeVries leads a list of 10 prospects that have been traded today. Crisello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Clark Farenthal, enough to be with us and make us sound smart.
Real quick.
From Mad Friars.
Yankees are getting Camilo Duvall from the Giants, according to Jeff Passan. That's the latest move.
Yankees are busy here right at the wire. They got David Bednar from Pittsburgh today. They just added Jose Caballero, the shortstop from Tampa Bay. And now they add, apparently, Duvall from San Francisco. I guess that means the Giants are not going to be buying at the deadline.
No, it looks like they've decided that this last couple of weeks have been detrimental.
Yes, they changed up. Some of the other bigger names that moved today, if you're just tuned in, Cedric Mullins from Baltimore to the Mets. Carlos Correa, Minnesota, back to the Astros. Reliever Kyle Finnegan, Washington to Detroit.
Where are they? Are they playing him at third? Is he going to DH?
Correa?
Yeah, because they got Pena there. I mean, he's pretty good.
I don't know. I don't really have time to look at the Astros today.
Sorry.
But no, I know
it was an out loud thought that was supposed to stay inside.
It's definitely a fair thought. Merrill Kelly from Arizona to Texas. Shane Bieber, who's really been hurt most of the time, but he's going to try to get it going with Toronto, which gets him from Cleveland. Late last night, you probably already saw it, but Eugenio Suarez joining Josh Naylor in Seattle. And the Phillies getting Harrison Bader today.
I have one more
to go along with Durant.
You got one more.
Yes, Charlie Morton is going to the Tigers.
Ooh.
Charlie Morton.
Tampa Bay Rays are acquiring reliever Griffin Jacks.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is acquiring people and trading people.
I had heard that, the Morton one's interesting because I heard the Padres were in on him for a little bit there. So he ends up going to the Tigres, huh?
Yes.
Charlie Morton,
Tigres.
after a terrible start,
I'm
7-1.
Furiously refreshing for Dylan Cease news, but I haven't seen anything yet. So
I hope they don't get rid of Dylan, man.
At this point.
Keep the rotation as stout as possible. You kept the bullpen where it's at. This is you set yourself up. They
did not keep the bullpen where it's at. They
expanded it. I'm sorry, you're right.
They now have what Ben was calling on the show this morning the Filthy Five. I don't know if that'll be the actual name that sticks, but I like it. Mason Miller adding to Suarez, adding to Jason Adam, adding to Estrada.
I don't think you need nicknames. Let's just win. Then you can come up with the nicknames after.
Still got David Morgan, Wandy Peralta, and old Matsui.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 8 bullpen guys right there, and that doesn't include a few of the leftovers.
Here's the interesting thing is they didn't have to give up a David Morgan or a Sean Reynolds, who I love. I think he's going to be a solid back end bullpen guy at some point. They still have those. Those are all developed guys that they've brought together.
Couldn't they have gotten another catcher somewhere? Is there any more catchers that were out there? I'm back to this.
That wasn't going to cost you a bunch of money.
2 starters. Clark, come on. Help me out here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would have loved it if I honestly, at first, when the rumors were coming, when the A's were around, that I thought maybe there'd be a possibility Langoliers can be thrown into that mix. But that, I think, would have cost an even higher asking price, clearly.
No doubt.
You were already throwing in Leo and you're throwing in Net and Baez. I mean, there probably would have been a conversation around.
I heard his name come up, but nothing
didn't come of it. I mean, there was the Sean Murphys of the world. There was brief discussion around that before Atlanta said no thank you, or just said we're not going to move off of him at this point.
That would have been difficult too because of how much money he's making. You would have certainly been looking to move some of the pieces that could be a free agent if you're bringing a guy like that in, because if the apron is a real thing that the Padres are concerned of, he was making what, 13?
He was making a solid chunk. I can't remember the contract figures right off the top of my head. I mean, Atlanta always gets really friendly deals, but I still think it would have been.
Who are we talking?
Sean Murphy.
I think it was like 15.
Yeah. So that would have been tough to add to the payroll as it is.
And go ahead. Sorry,
I was going to say the only other name that I remember being thrown in there, at least around, was Corey Lee from the White Sox. He was another name that had been discussed.
I did hear that.
But I know just from Lee's number of the batted ball data wasn't anything that would have been some sort of massive
There
upgrade.
just aren't a ton of great offensive and catching guys.
Then I would have stayed with, Diaz and Maldonado so I could keep Kolek and Bergert.
I guess this is a pure case of be careful what you ask for, because
I know we all
got
begged
it
for a catcher,
and now you don't like it.
That's what I was about to say. Is that Chris? I've been sitting here listening to Chris.
I'm loving everything else.
Talking about the catcher position. Now they get a catcher and he doesn't like it.
I don't. It's okay.
I understand that those two guys going back is a little much in my mind as well.
I think so.
I agreed with that.
Maybe I'm overreacting a little to the the tweeters out there, maybe. But when the very first word that Fermin was coming came out, Bergert was the only name reported, and I already saw people going, "What? We're giving up Bergert?" And then when you add Kolek,
changes the tone.
Changes it. All right. Anyway, it's been a great day for me all the way around, though. Look, I'm planning a parade again, to be at the parade again, and this is what excites me, because for those who haven't been following the Padres for 5 decades, 5.5, we don't have every year a parade opportunity is not guaranteed us around here.
No,
we've gone decades without even having a chance. Now, all of a sudden, AJ Preller, this ownership group, they keep giving us a chance every year. I think you got to be pleased with that. If you're just from a fan perspective, this is the 6th year in a row that we head into August and September with a real shot at this.
You know what I remember when I don't know if it was when we first started the show, but it was soon thereafter. I remember us having a conversation. I don't remember how it came up. And I think you said something along the lines of, I just want to be involved in games that matter come September
and
October.
Fair. Yeah.
And really, since 2020, you have had meaningful games since
we started the show in 2018, and we didn't have meaningful games to talk about.
Now, that being said, I think as you experience that more, the bar goes a little bit higher.
Fair enough.
And I think we are on the precipice of that bar being pushed up to where it won't be okay just to play in meaningful games in September and October. They're going to have to be deep playoff runs in those.
We've got to start. We've got to really start getting it done. You're right. In October, it's hard to guarantee. The run in 2022 was nice, but it's now 2025. Yeah, and we need another one, and probably even another step would be welcome around here.
No, absolutely. And I think that is sort of like, even for a person like myself who loves to evaluate the prospects, loves the farm system, being on that side of things, there is something also to be said from the fan side of, okay, hey, the excitement of, they are clearly, again, going for it. Yeah. And even as someone who is, was born in 98, remembers those 2000 seasons where, gosh, what was it? 2006. I was going to say 2010 when the deadline came around.
Yeah. We got
Ludwig and Miguel Tejada were the big
by the way,
moves.
2010 is not allowed around here.
I know. I apologize for that.
I brought up that year a couple times, forgetting that he was on the team, being like, man, that team.
No, it's not that. It's not that. It's just like, okay, those years I'm like, hey, if there was just more push put in by the front office, then you would have been, okay, that's a team that, truthfully, you guys, I'm sure everyone agrees from that clubhouse, should have been there because you guys were playing great all year leading into that last month.
You bring up such a good point, Clark, because I think that's part of the reason why myself and Chris feel that way, is because we've been around the organization when there wasn't this kind of like push to try to push the team over the top. I mean, outside of 1998, where they clearly did what they had to do, there hasn't been that. I mean, Ludwig was a good piece for us. It didn't work out. It didn't work out. And the trade on the other side, who the Guardians now, but the Indians at the time get, it certainly doesn't bode well. Those are rare, though, that actually goes down like that. And then Miguel Tejada actually turned out to be a good move for us at that point.
No, I mean, again, those pieces were solid. I'm just saying if there was a larger push behind that.
No doubt.
And that's what I will always say is there's a side of my brain that operates on the idea of, okay, like baseball ops wise, you're giving up a lot. But at the same time, on the other hand of it, on my other side of the brain, which I'm a fan, you're sitting there and saying, hey, this is exciting. These guys objectively have made the roster better. It objectively puts you in a better spot to go ahead and not only compete for World Series, but obviously compete for other things like the National League West title, which is 3 games only away.
For grabs.
I mean, in a lot of ways, all the moves they have made today, yes, have made this team better. The questions later on down the line will trickle in with what happens with Leo, what happens with Net, what happens with these other guys. But I guess you could also always say, if you ask what ifs all the time, you'll never actually
get there
or answer the question
The
yourself.
bill always comes due, but it has not really come due yet for the Padres because they proved again that they had enough in reserve to make another run this year.
I think that's the part that we overlook is, yes, these moves are now, but all of these moves, everyone that seems like that AJ has made has eventually led to some length in this window being open, right? I mean, he makes the move for Soto, which is certainly a move for right now. Then he had to move Soto, and then he got pieces that could lengthen that window a little bit longer when you bring in a King, you bring in a Vasquez. Higashioka was great in that season last year, right? Every time he makes a move, it seems like there is a element of now and an element of later added to it.
I wanted to update a couple things. Kevin Acee tweeted that Dylan Cease is staying. So he is saying that Dylan Cease remains a part of the Padres rotation.
I'm a big fan of the work of Kevin Acee, but did you not just read one 25 minutes ago that said talks have intensified?
Not from Acee, though.
Oh, okay.
That was from
different people.
Yeah,
anyway,
also,
it can be confusing is what I mean.
97.3 The Fans coverage of the MLB trade deadline is brought to you by Palomar Health, champions of healthcare, champions for you.
Very good. One last quick thing before Clark goes, because he's
Are we going to go
really cool.
I think we got to go
here.
16 then, right?
Yeah, well, we will.
Let's go next.
Clark, you got
Clark,
you
got 4 minutes.
Yeah, I got 4
you got a
minutes
couple minutes to answer this
yes,
question.
I can.
Just giving a little look, see around the rest of the trades. And I know you're focused on the Padres stuff, but which one, if any, really, you think is a difference-making move? Whether it be the Phillies getting Duran, whether it be the Astros trying Correa again, Mullins, on down the line. Anyone stick out to you?
Yeah, look, I think if there was one that I think I liked, because initially at my first look at the return, I thought it was a little bit high, but doing a little bit more digging, I actually think it ended up being solid. I think it was the Mets yesterday going out and getting, I believe it was Helsley, right?
Yeah, Ryan Helsley.
Helsley, to me, that was the move that I think.
That's big.
Because the Mets, if you look at them, yes, okay, you gave up Buto, who was a solid relief arm. Gilbert's a guy who they gave up who batted ball data is fine. He draws walks, but he's also 24. And truthfully, the Mets had issues in center field already. Tyrone Taylor was getting a lot of run out there. If Gilbert wasn't the guy now, when was he going to be? Right. So I understand that. And I also think looking at Tidwell he's solid. I think when you look at him, the fastball shape, 93 to 95, has solid run to it, maybe one other plus pitch. I think, though, what the Mets look at with their thing now, I think it's sort of similar to the way the Padres do. The Mets have turned into an extremely good pitching development team.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they look at themselves right now at their organizational standpoint and say, hey, Tidwell is good. We can develop guys that will fit right into what he was, if not better. So I think Helsley is someone who helps the Mets right now because I think the bullpen was a bit of a question. Adding someone to solidify that, because I still love Juan Soto. I think he's a phenomenal player. I know it was him that got dinged up the other day. He's been huge from this season. Lindor, phenomenal player. I like the lineup through and through. I think adding someone who can be a little bit more consistent on that back end is a pretty massive get for sure.
Yeah, don't get me started on the losers that don't like Juan Soto. I can't get past that. Not talking about Chris. I'm not talking about Chris.
My thing with Soto forever that I will hold on to is I know it's very easy to look back, and I for me, looking at James Wood when I was doing my evaluations of him when I was in college and stuff at the time, just doing it for fun. I mean, you could see, and I think everyone understood what he was going to be. I mean, this was a guy who had put up massive exit velocity numbers. The bat speed was phenomenal. There's everything that you really wanted to see. But to, again, acquire generational talent, you have to give up what is perceived as an elite play. And that's what James Wood is looking like he's going to be. Would I love to have James Wood back? Of course, I think anyone would. But at the end of the day, it doesn't do any good to dwell on it. And Soto was a really good player when he was here, and that's it. Just
we also have a memory of a rainy night in October where they knocked the Dodgers out of the playoffs, perhaps because they got Soto. It has to be factored in.
Yeah.
When you miss James Wood. I mean, I miss him too.
Yeah,
and I missed him especially in Game 1 of that series here, where he was showing out. But then after that, he didn't do much. So you know.
No, and then you flip him for Michael King too. I mean, that's the another part of it, is that you're able to get King out of it. You're able to get a guy like Vasquez, Gashioka, who was phenomenal for us last year. There was a lot of pieces in return that they got back for it. So,
Astros, Jesus Sanchez, Miami Marlins goes to the Astros. I'm also seeing something. Dodgers maybe got Alex Call, backup outfielder from the Nationals.
Man, so they must have struck out.
Pretty much.
They were going for Quan, for sure.
The only one that we know for the Dodgers is Dustin May went to Boston. We don't know the return there. But other than that, pretty quiet in L.A. today.
Apparently, John Morosi was reporting that the Padres were checking in on Mackenzie Gore, trying to get him back.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, the Padres made
Does
offers.
Anything surprise you when it comes to
they made offers to Aaron Judge, Trey Turner, everybody else that year. So, hey, Clark, very good, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming on, brother.
That made our show a whole lot smarter today.
I try to do my part.
Check out Clark Farenthold. Give your handles
just
again.
Clark Farenthold on social. I would say if you're ever interested in prospects, we at Mad Friars do an absolutely phenomenal job. We have great interviews all the time with players throughout the system. My guys, Kevin Charity, David J, Ben Davey, John Conniff, do an excellent job. We make sure to keep you guys updated as best as you can on the minor leagues down there. They're all great writers. I think we do an excellent job. So if you're looking to stay in touch with what happens with the minors down there, who's moving around narrow, because there's going to be a lot of different movement with guys departing, going up to different levels, check out madfriars.com. It's a great spot. Best source for Padres prospect information, guys. And I really appreciate having me on.
Ooh, one more. Big one. Royals acquired Mike Yastrzemski from the Giants.
Giants kind of a name for sure.
Yeah. Giants sold everyone.
If they had more time, they would have covered a few more.
I mean, I don't like that he's in our division, but I certainly, if I'm a Giants fan, I trust Buster Posey. I like the things that he's done this year, including realizing that his team was out of it and selling some of those pieces to get some pieces back.
All right, we will continue updating you. The trade deadline ended at 3:00, but that doesn't mean more trades won't be announced here in the next little while. More about what the Padres did today. It's got everybody buzzing. And again, thanks to Clark Farenthold from Mad Friars. Back with more Gwynn and Chris. Check a little traffic right now.
Joseph Musgrove in the building.
Give him a round of applause, everyone.
What's up? It's not a bad setup right here, huh?
No, not at all. Not at all. How you doing, Joe?
I feel great, man. Yeah, really good. Excited.
I heard you say on the stage today, 2 months away from throwing a baseball.
Yeah.
What are those 2 months going to be like for you?
A lot of patience, I've been working really hard, man. Been really diligent with the rehab. The strengthening stuff has all been, right on par. I've kind of hit every checkpoint with ease. And that was something that was told to me early on is like, really give it the time that you need on the front end. You don't throw for 6 months regardless. So, don't try to go out and be a hero and get yourself throwing in 4 months. Just, do all the rehab, hit all the checkpoints, and then, maybe make up some time on the back end, once I'm consistently throwing. So strength feels really good. It's just, getting the shoulder moving again and back in like certain ranges before I start playing catch.
For those who may not know, I don't think it was ever going to be in question whether Joe was going to attack his rehab the way he has already started to attack it. This is one of the most hard-working people I've ever been around. But this is new territory for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you are a guy who I consider well-educated on anything he's about to walk through.
Yeah.
What was your education like leading up to surgery? I know you must have talked to a billion people. You don't leave stones unturned.
Yeah.
What was that like, getting yourself prepared for this surgery?
Yeah, I got a notebook full of pages of conversations, phone calls, doctor visits. I vetted 3-4 different doctor options. Called everybody I knew that had had Tommy John. Called guys that had it twice, and you know, what the difference was the second time around compared to the first. So
this is your first, correct?
My first one, yeah. So I feel like I've done, you know, every bit of the homework that I could. I feel like I was as prepared and as, you know, educated on, you know, the process as possible. And now it's just, you know, putting the, you know, the lessons that I've learned from other people and their experiences, along with, you know, the feel and the trust that I have for myself.
We're talking to Joe Musgrove here on 97.3 The Fan. And Joe, last year you called into our show, and
yeah, there we go.
You played a prank on me, and it was a really good prank because my heart stopped a beat for a second, and it still does. But I appreciate you doing that. This is the first time we've actually been able to talk about it.
A little locker room talk. It's all good, baby.
I told him, I told these folks that his eyes almost popped out of his head when Joe got on that phone.
Well, yeah, when I'm told I can't come into the clubhouse, it's a little concerning, considering, you know, I'm not that crazy of a guy, but
no,
anyway.
You're good by us down there. You're
okay,
welcome
good.
whenever.
All right. I just wanted to ask you about the mental side of things, because it's got to be hard knowing you're coming into the year you're not going to pitch.
Right.
But you still have to keep working. How do you stay in that zone?
I think, you know, first off, it's a little bit of a relief. It's a chance to kind of step back from, you know, the constant mentality and approach of, like, being on edge and getting ready and prepared, and just the stresses that, you know, any ball player deals with on the day-to-day of, like, mechanics feeling out of whack, or as spring gets closer, maybe you haven't hit the checkpoints that you want to hit, or things aren't, you know, as consistent as you like it to be. So not having to deal with those stresses has been super nice. You know, I've been able to focus on life a little bit, got engaged, you know, got a new home, made some moves. Yeah, so it's been really good. And I think, you know, once I had the surgery, I knew what was ahead of me and, you know, how long the road was. And, you know, it took a little while to get to a good headspace, but I feel like I'm in a great spot now. And, you know, I was saying earlier out on the stage, you know, I'm not claiming to be Superman, but I really believe in my ability to heal and, you know, my ability to, you know, to push my body and get it ready. So I'm preparing and shooting for a return in the postseason at some point. And if, you know, we're a month away from that and I realize it's a long shot, I'm completely fine with, you know, sitting out and, you know, preparing for 26. But I keep myself busy, man. I've really tried to be an extension of the coaching staff and, you know, provide, you know, assistance and help and, you know, experience and, you know, things that help these younger guys and, you know, some of our guys that are transitioning to a starting role, you know, help their careers grow. So, you know, keep myself busy and keeping tasks, you know, to have, you know, at my fingertips, things to work on has been a good relief for me.
Joseph Musgrove in the building.
Give him a round of applause, everyone.
What's up? It's not a bad setup right here, huh?
No, not at all. Not at all. How you doing, Joe?
I feel great, man. Yeah, really good. Excited.
I heard you say on the stage today, 2 months away from throwing a baseball.
Yeah.
What are those 2 months going to be like for you?
A lot of patience, you know. I've been working really hard, man. Been really diligent with the rehab. The strengthening stuff has all been, you know, right on par. I've kind of hit every checkpoint with ease, and that was something that was told to me early on. Is like, you know, really give it the time that you need on the front end. You don't throw for 6 months regardless. So, you know, don't try to go out and be a hero and get yourself throwing in 4 months. Just, you know, do all the rehab, hit all the checkpoints, and then, you know, maybe make up some time on the back end, you know, once I'm consistently throwing. So strength feels really good. It's just, you know, getting the shoulder moving again and back in, like, certain ranges before I start playing catch.
For those who may not know, I don't think it was ever going to be in question whether Joe was going to attack his rehab the way he has already started to attack it. This is one of the most hard-working people I've ever been around. But this is new territory for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you are a guy who I consider well-educated on anything he's about to walk through.
Yeah.
What was your education like leading up to surgery? I know you must have talked to a billion people. You don't leave stones unturned.
Yeah.
What was that like, getting yourself prepared for this surgery?
Yeah, I got a notebook full of pages of you know, conversations, phone calls, doctor visits. I, you know, vetted 3-4 different doctor options. Called everybody I knew that had, you know, had Tommy John. Called guys that had had it twice, and, you know, what the difference was the second time around compared to the first. So
this is your first, correct?
My first one, yeah. So I feel like I've done, you know, every bit of the homework that I could. I feel like I was as prepared and as, you know, educated on, you know, the process as possible. And now it's just, you know, putting the, you know, the lessons that I've learned from other people and their experiences, along with, you know, the feel and the trust that I have for myself.
We're talking to Joe Musgrove here on 97.3 The Fan.
325. This will be a short segment. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, Matthew Scraby. We're off to a great start. Want to thank Clark Farnthal for why you do that? Why'd you laugh?
I did not do anything.
Did I say it wrong? I thought I said it
No,
right.
you're fine.
Okay, don't do that to me. Padres deadline. AJ Preller cooking right now, at least in my eyes. I don't know how everybody feels, but
well, you know what I feel.
Well, I know Chris is happy.
9 prospects.
He's got a little heartburn with the colic and
a little of
burger,
that.
but all in all, he's pretty happy.
All in all, I'm happy. 9 prospects. Should have traded 19 of them, as far as I'm concerned. But we'll be. No, I'm kidding. But hey, look, this is the thing that everybody's going to say. Well, now we have no farm system. But I guarantee I heard everybody say that last year.
I don't need you to guarantee. I was there. I heard it myself.
Right. So, maybe it is done now, but I doubt it. Knowing our friend AJ Preller, they do seem to be able to develop these guys.
The other thing is they just had 15 rounds of a draft not that long ago, and no one knows anything about these guys that have just showed up. You know who does know a lot about the guys that just drafted? AJ Preller. And the rest of his staff. So,
look, Leo Dallas DeVries, everyone's going to be able to know this one because that's going to be a high profile. He'll be with the A's within a year. Maybe, could have probably been 2 years to come here, but the A's will probably get up quicker.
You think they're sliding Jacob Wilson to second base now when that time does come? Because I believe he's playing short.
I heard Derek Shelton say the other way around.
Here's what's going to happen.
Move DeVries to second. Okay.
Well, whatever they say.
I don't know if I trust Shelton.
Here's what I say.
He is.
DeVries will be called up by the A's. He'll play for a half a season, and then he will be gone. He's going to be too big of a star. Although they'll be in Las Vegas by then.
They need some young faces to roll into.
Yeah, maybe that's different. Yeah, okay. Maybe he will long-term be with the A's.
I just hope my man Mark gets to see it all the way through. Kotze. The manager for the Athletics. Usually you take these type of jobs as soon as they move into the nice luxury place. Yeah, sorry, man.
Thanks for your help.
I hope that is not the case.
He's
doing a good job with them.
Mason Miller, how much he loves that he doesn't have to walk to left field for his clubhouse anymore. Because did you see Luis Severino last night falling down on the mound like 3 times because he is so upset with his situation? He chose it.
I'm sorry. I can't even be sympathetic.
Right. He knew the situation.
He literally signed.
Not only that, he complained about it, and I bet you the grounds crew triggered the mound to make him fall up in Oakland.
Yeah, man, you gotta take care of the people, man.
Take care of the peeps who try to take care.
By the way, that grounds crew especially, they are, they're dealing with a AAA team and a big league team all on the same field, having to get it right. That's not normal. That's not normal. Let's just leave it at that.
When we come back at the here in just a couple minutes, I'm gonna do my best to just kind of go through everybody who was acquired today, and by what teams. And then when I'm done doing that, somebody out there try to tell me you heard a team that improved more than the Padres improved today.
Okay,
let's think you'll be able to find one.
Let's get to break now so we can get back on time. And we can have ourselves plenty of time to kind of walk through all of the deals that went down to make that decision. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side. We'll get into, did anybody do it better than the Padres at the deadline?
Chris, hello. Yeah, we're here in Cooperstown for 97.3 The Fan. So excited, the induction weekend for the great Trevor Hoffman. What a class he's going in with, too. Let's take a look. course, Alan Trammell from Kearney High School in San Diego. And then, of course, the Detroit Tigers, great shortstop. Jack Morris in a Tiger uniform there, but I always remember him pitching that 1-0 shutout in Game 7 of the 1991 World Series for the Minnesota Twins. Maybe the greatest postseason pitching performance of all time. Chipper Jones, Padre fans remember him. Every fan of a National League team remembers him because he would come in and do damage to that team. Only the second #1 overall pick in the Major League Draft, Chipper Jones, to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. The other is Ken Griffey Jr. Vladimir Guerrero, never met a pitch he couldn't swing at, and powerhouse hitter for the Expos, and then, of course, the Angels at the end of his career. Jim Thome, over 600 home runs, mostly with the Cleveland Indians. And then, the guy down here on the end who used to get all these guys out all the time, Trevor Hoffman, the greatest Padre reliever of them all. Two of the greatest outfielders in the history of baseball. Of course, you've got Babe Ruth right here. Ted Williams right over there. I was wondering who the third outfielder would be. And then, of course, it hit me. Tony would be upset if I didn't say that the third outfielder, who will someday probably be displayed right here between these two guys, is obviously Mike Trout. And this is the San Diego Padres locker room here in Cooperstown. Obviously a couple of jerseys there and hats, gloves, all-star stuff. I think the most interesting thing in this entire display, though, especially this weekend, is a picture in the top corner of Angus Young. He's the guitarist for AC/DC, wearing a Trevor Hoffman uniform, obviously playing Hell's Bells. I know that Trevor went to many AC/DC concerts and was honored by sitting in the front row to watch AC/DC play Hell's Bells in his honor. But there's a picture of Angus Young playing Hell's Bells for Trevor Hoffman, wearing the 51 jersey right there. Chris, hello. Yeah, we're here in Cooperstown for 97.3 The Fan. So excited, the induction weekend for the great Trevor Hoffman. What a class he's going in with, too. Let's take a look. Of course, Alan Trammell from Kearney High School in San Diego. And then, of course, the Detroit Tigers, great shortstop. Jack Morris in a Tiger uniform there, but I always remember him pitching that 1-0 shutout in Game 7 of the 1991.
Chris, coming up at the top of the hour, 4 o'clock. So we're about 25 minutes away from that. AJ Preller will address the media, his thoughts and comments after the huge trade day haul for the Padres. Hear what AJ has to say about all of it. We'll have the entire press conference for you live right here at the top of this hour. So don't go anywhere on that. Crisello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Scraby in the Odyssey Palace studios. Of course, the Padres, in case you weren't aware, are off today. No game. Cardinals coming in tomorrow. Padres at 60-49. 11 games over 500, right where they were when they started the season 14-3. But they have worked their way back to a really good position. 3 games back of the Dodgers, the closest they've been since the middle of June. Padres are also 3 games up on the Reds for the wild card. The Reds later on host Atlanta tonight. All right, here's a quick recap because a lot of it happened so fast and furious at the end. We might have missed a few trades for you, but I'm going to start with the National League first because if you look at it from just the National League perspective, Tony, a lot of the really big name, good name guys that were moved ended up going to the American League, which is another little advantage here, I think, for, the Padres. We'll see. And if you just tuned in, the Padres getting Mason Miller, J.P. Sears from the A's, Freddie Fermin, catcher from the Royals, Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano, outfielders from the Orioles, and Nestor Cortez, pitcher from the Brewers. Other National League teams. First of the Dodgers, Brock Stewart, reliever, Minnesota, Alex Call, backup outfielder. That's it. They also gave up James Outman in that Brock Stewart trade, so he's no longer a Dodger prospect. And they sent Dustin May to Boston, although we've not heard the return on that. Unless something dramatic breaks here, the Dodgers can't be considered one of the big winners today. They're, in fact, incredibly silent. As far as the rest of the division is concerned, obviously Arizona's been trading everybody. The Giants traded not only Camilo Doval, let go Camilo Doval to the Yankees, and Mike Yastrzemski to the Royals. So the Giants have obviously tossed in the towel. Don't really need to refer to the Rockies situation. Philadelphia got Harrison Bader today to go along with Johan Duran, who I think was a really great pickup for that team.
They needed bullpen help like no other.
I think that could be really a big upgrade for the Phillies. I think Cedric Mullins in center fielder is a nice upgrade for the Mets. Ryan Hensley gives them, an 8th inning on top of Edwin Diaz's 9th inning. So those are 2 good moves for the Mets, I would say. Atlanta, Miami, Washington not doing anything. And then the Central, the Cubs, Jed Hoyer just got a big contract extension, kind of left in the cold. Got Mike Soroka yesterday, got Willie Castro, outfielder from the Twins today.
His
utility man.
These, again, I just want to remind everybody, these GMs are only as good as the ownership is going to allow them to be. And we know that just based on them not having signed Tucker yet to an
the
extension,
Cubs could be a little tight.
They might be a little tight.
Well, it was a quiet deadline, certainly for the Cubs. The Reds did get Zach Littell, pitcher from Tampa Bay today. Also Miguel Andujar from the A's. Yesterday, they got Ke'Bryan Hayes from the Pirates. So the Reds were a bit active. The Brew Crew. Did I miss anything? I don't know that they added.
I just got another addition to that trade for Nestor Cortez.
All right, so this is going to the Brewers then, or it's coming?
It's coming from the Brewers back to the Padres. Oh, gosh, where did it go? Gosh, dang it.
Don't swear on the air.
I said, gosh, dang it. That's not swearing. Oh, here it is. Padres also get shortstop Jorge Quintana from the Brewers. In the Cortez trade, he signed for $1.7 million January 20. He was the number 19 in the system last year, but he's not in the current top 30 for Milwaukee.
Quintana. Is it Quin?
Tana?
Yeah, Quintana. Okay. Thank you for interrupting with that information.
I mean, that was relevant.
The Brewers, okay, back to them. They got their big guy already. I don't know if anybody's seen, but Andrew Vaughn, who they acquired from the White Sox about 3 weeks ago, has destroyed the National League since he's gotten there.
Did we say Phil Maton went?
Not yet.
Hit that. Oh, did you get that one? That just came on my phone.
Yes,
okay.
I'm waiting. He's American League.
Okay,
so,
sorry.
Right, I'm doing National League. And then the other two teams in the National League are the Cardinals, who are not getting anybody, nor the Pirates. So the National League, I think the best guy was Duran going to the Phillies, Mullins and Hensley going to the Mets, along with what the Padres did. Now the American League loaded in terms of, big name acquisitions. Let's start with Seattle. Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor both went. Suarez last night. Mariners, not normally a team that is spending big time around this time of year, but they're going after it. The Astros, Carlos Correa returns to Houston. Ramon Urias, they're both. Urias is a third baseman. I would think Correa will play third because they lost their third baseman, Paredes. And the other one, the Astros just got Jesus Sanchez from the Marlins outfielder, a guy who hit a home run against the Padres the other day and danced crazily around the bases. My favorite. Let's see. The Angels were quiet as far as we know. Didn't say anything there. The A's, got rid of people, certainly didn't acquire anybody. Texas added Merrill Kelly from Arizona, and that's where Phil Maton comes in, Tony, going to the Rangers, who have gotten back in the race. In the AL Central, Kansas City jumps in there for Mike Yastrzemski and pitcher Bailey Falter of Pittsburgh, going to the Royals. The guards were quiet. The Twins are trading everybody. In part, Bob Nightingale says because they have $440
million debt.
Whoops. Yeah. And how you could have a debt owning a baseball team with all the money coming in is a little beyond me, but that's for another time. Detroit loading up a little bit here with Kyle Finnegan, closer for Washington. Paul Sewald, former closer, and also Charlie Morton added to the rotation today. And then you got the Yankees who picked up David Bednar and Camilo Duvall. Both are closers. We'll see which one works along with Devin Williams there in New York. Jake Bird, Colorado had somebody the Yankees were interested. Actually, two players. They got Ryan McMahon already.
Yeah, who's already paid dividends for him.
And Jose Caballero, shortstop from Tampa Bay, going to the Yankees. Red Sox, we mentioned Dustin May from the Dodgers, but we don't know the return yet. Steven Matz, reliever, St. Louis, to the Red Sox. Toronto, trying to stay on top, Shane Bieber. And our old friend Ty France has been traded, Tony, to Toronto. Pretty good chance for him to see maybe a World Series this year. Tampa Bay actually traded a couple guys, but also got back Adrian Hauser, the right-hander from the White Sox.
Former Brewer.
Hauser. Griffin Jacks, Minnesota, went to Tampa Bay as well. Baltimore, trading, not getting. That's everybody, Tony. As best I can do, and if I left somebody out, I apologize, but there's a pretty exhaustive list there of everything.
I can't. You haven't named a team that did better than the Padres yet.
I don't think so. I mean, you're going to call us a homer or say we're getting paid
I don't
to
think
say it.
That's just.
I mean, who's not going to give the Padres the some high marks? I can't imagine they wouldn't around baseball.
I wonder if the baseball guys are going to say it was a bad trade or bad trade deadline because they gave up like DeVries and a bunch of other guys.
The
like
baseball guys.
Baseball experts that grade
I don't
these
think
trades.
so. I think these guys, listen, when you're up, MLB Network is on right now, and they're kind of breaking down the Padres actually as we speak. But these guys have been covering the Padres for a long time. And one thing that happens when you start to cover a team, the expectation level starts. So I think they're going to be praising it because ultimately the Padres are their window, as we've been saying for the last, when did we start talking about the window? Was that
2020?
When they got to the
maybe
playoffs?
We needed a year to believe it.
Right.
But it's been all this whole decade. It really has.
And so I think from that standpoint, I think everybody's going to recognize why they did what they did is because they're trying to win now.
Except for Bradford Doolittle, who
always
rubs us the wrong way. He gave us a D+ for the Mason Miller trade. I don't get it. Now, maybe part of the excuse here
is he is one of these prospect guys, so he thinks DeVries, is untradeable, and the Padres did trade him. Secondly, he didn't know everything else. I think he assumed that the Padres would probably part with Robert Suarez in getting Mason Miller, but they haven't. And now the Padres have, I think, the nastiest bullpen I maybe have ever seen. I mean, 5 closer arms in the bullpen at the same time. He did give the A's, by the way, for that trade, Tony. A,
of course,
like the whole, so he loves what they did there. The Padres got a B for the Freddie Fermin trade, according to ESPN. And I have to go scroll down a little bit for the Ryan O'Hearn grade here. But, I think you got it. I don't know. Who knows? I'm sure there's people out there tweeting that AJ Preller should be,
who cares?
Relieved of his job before the press conference at 4:00.
Oh, no. They're saying that he's going all in because he's not going to be here next year. So
I see.
Yeah, well,
that's what they're saying.
The way the cookie crumbles, I guess.
There are people.
Padres got an A-. There we go for the Ryan O'Hearn trade. So
there are people that doesn't matter if AJ Preller resurrected Babe Ruth,
and he was like the Babe,
and he was like 80 home runs a year, they'd be like, well, they gave up this guy for Babe Ruth. I don't understand it.
We have no prospects left.
That's what we keep saying, though, and it's not true.
That's why I'm bringing it up, Scraby. You asked me why I don't care about prospects. This is the answer to the question. It doesn't mean I'm right. It just explains why I'm not, worried about losing 10 prospects today, 9 on top of Leo Dallas.
10 this year, 10 last year,
10 last year, right? And probably 10 more next year, Tony.
This is gonna be up to 30 prospects,
even though they're completely out of them. Let's check some traffic, and then don't forget AJ Preller's about 15 minutes away, his press conference. But traffic first.
From the 855 Get Ross Traffic Center, protecting San Diego after accidents or injury, here's Kelly Danick.
Got a hit and run crash now. South on 5 Dairy Mart Road off ramp. Also a stalled car in the center divide, South 805 near Telegraph Canyon Road. Good news for northbound 15 travelers. Crash is cleared from the 2 left lanes right before Miramar Way. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right. Scraby wants me to point out, and he should have me point this out. The Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano acquisition trade has not been officially announced by the Padres. We'll see if AJ Preller officially announces it during his press conference at the top of the hour. Crisello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Scraby. It's been a crazy, wild day. And I don't know, Tony, along with trading Leo Dallas DeVries, which is got to be considered a surprise, whether you like the trade or not. I don't think we really thought they would do that, but they did. I think the second and third most surprising things of the day are that both Dylan Cease and Robert Suarez are not going anywhere. I don't know that Jake Cronenworth staying surprises me. I never really believed in all of that talk, but I did believe in Cease. And once I heard that they got Mason Miller, I truly believed that Suarez would go, but they're still here. I wouldn't think that's a bad thing.
No,
they're pretty good players, so keep them around.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Wait, what was there a question in there?
Nope. There's a comment. Nope. I had nothing on the question department there. I just as a thought.
Yeah, no.
I'm a little surprised. Okay, are you surprised?
Okay.
There we go. There's your.
I would have been surprised 72 hours ago.
All right.
But, for those who don't know, you get to like a week out of the deadline. There's just a lot of different side conversations happening and what you're hearing. By the way, none of it with the people who actually know, but just rumors and all, when you started to hear Leo's name come up, with colleagues, who around Major League Baseball, that to me was my antennas went up because those are like off topic or like non-starters, I should say. They had been, but when you started to hear his name like multiple times, it's like, all right, well, maybe they're entertaining
maybe they're really
it.
thinking about it. Yeah. Well, they did it, and we'll see where the chips will fall where they may.
Again, this is about the time. Was it 2 years ago, the Scherzer day, Scrabe, or 3?
3.
When our guy Ken Rosenthal
I believe it was the 2020
came in breathlessly
season?
with the news that Max Scherzer was a Padre.
Yes.
Only to pull the rug out from under us.
It's just official right now, by the way.
The Orioles.
They just Padres PR just reposted it. So
All
there,
right.
take that.
Scraby. Hey, look,
For
Scraby.
data.
I bet you they didn't know it wasn't official until Scraby mentioned it. Then they ran to take care of it.
Thank you, Chris.
Good job, Scraby.
AJ Preller
Way
was
to
listening.
save the day.
He was like, guys, we didn't put it in the paperwork.
They're gonna ask me this when we get on live in 10 minutes.
Is it done?
They say you saved the day, Scrabe. Thankfully.
Yeah.
Boy. Very proud of you on that one. All right, here's the list of players not traded today, and it's pretty lengthy. And along with Cease and Robert Suarez, but Nolan Arenado stays. You know, he's supposed to be traded a long time ago. Some of the other ones that aren't traded: Stephen Kwan, not traded today. Jared Duran, not traded today. Right? They had a nice list up there that I was reading from, and then they took it off the screen. So I sounded like I knew what I was talking about for a minute. But, you know, as always is the case, not everybody rumored gets traded.
I mean, you can go ahead and put 2 of the Padres on there, Robert Suarez and Dylan Cease.
Another one named Luis Robert was
Luis
not traded
Robert
today.
did not go.
Right.
You know, he didn't do himself any favor. It doesn't look like Sandy Alcantara was not traded today as well.
Sandy Alcantara and Marcel Ozuna.
Ozuna stayed put.
there.
And so
those are big surprises to the people that think they know everything and were reporting that for the last 3 weeks. Not surprising to me because I don't believe a lot of that reporting. I think it's a lot of guesswork. And as I've said many times before, I think AJ probably isn't listening intently, but I think he probably gets word once in a while. You know what Scraby and I and you, Tony, are kicking around, and he probably laughs.
Stephen Kwan also.
Stephen Kwan
did not go anywhere.
Right. So up there goes Shelby Miller to the Brewers. So the Brewers finally get in on the action.
Did you say, I'm sorry, I hope you didn't say it, but Adrian Hauser to
He did.
Okay. I got that one.
He said that one
That's
like
okay.
a couple segments ago, actually.
I don't mind you.
It's okay.
I don't mind you, reprising that. It's pretty hard to get all of these, so I get it. Shelby Miller was a nice fill-in in the closer role for the Diamondbacks.
Doing a good job for him.
But he's now going to the Brew Crew, where they already have their closer, McGill, over there.
It's a big
But that's the first one the Brewers get. And they're the team to beat in the National League at the moment.
That's very on brand. I mean, the Brewers don't make big splash. I mean, the last splash move they made was bringing in Yelich. That was however many years ago, and that was a trade during the offseason. They don't operate like that. And if you're trading with the Brewers, to me, they're like the National League version of Tampa. Like, be leery. Be leery unless you're getting a rental like the Padres are with Cortez. You just they're good at that. They're good at fleecing you.
Okay. By the way, we know that the Brewers are cheap because they
Montgomery goes in that deal too.
Yeah, I was just looking. Jordan Montgomery also going to the Brewers. Is he even pitching though?
He's out for the year, I think.
So that's not going to change anything this year. What I was going to say is we know the Brewers are a little cheap when they couldn't match the high demands of one Tony Gwynn Jr. and had to ship him off to San Diego.
Yeah, I was.
Were you
holding them hostage?
Yeah, you were holding them hostage.
Yes, I was.
Attaboy, as you should have.
I wish I was holding them hostage.
All right, don't forget, we're a few minutes away from a minute or two from the break. Oh, never mind. We're at the break. And that means that when we come back, Tony and I will introduce AJ Preller's press conference. You'll get to hear everything straight from the horse's mouth. Stick around. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
And now, the challenger, representing the San Diego Padres, number 20, Kyle Higashioka. into the monster seat. Another home run. And that ends the round. He ends the round with 7 home runs. And he has earned a trip to the semifinal matchup. Now the challenger in this semifinal matchup, number 20, Kyle Higashioka. No doubt about that one. And it's drawn. That one carried on to Lansing. That one is gone. He now has bonus time. Just 1 minute remaining. No question about that one. And that's enough to put up in the championship matchup. And that ends the round. Finishes. Let's see what he can do. And now, the challenger in this championship round, Kyle Higashioka. And it's gone. That one carried out to Lansing. That one is gone. And he's earned 30 seconds of bonus time. Just 1 minute remaining. That draw off the right pole. There's a home run. Seconds left. And now, the challenger, representing the San Diego Padres, number 20, Kyle Higashioka. Oh, that's a monster home run. That's a home run. He's earned 30 seconds of bonus time. Just 1 minute remaining. It's out of here. That one up into the monster seat. Another home run. And that ends the round. He ends the round with 7 home runs. And he has earned a trip to the semifinal matchup. Now, the challenger in this semifinal matchup, number 20, Kyle Higashioka. No doubt about that one. Just 1 minute remaining. No question about that one. And taps it up to put up in the championship.
He's got better, in my opinion. We will soon hear from the man who was cooking, Chef AJ Preller. Will join, not us. He's not joining us, but he's joining. We're going to take his his
press conference
live on our show, and that's going to pop off here any minute. I'm sure up until recently, Scraby had just wanted us to inform you guys that a lot of these trades hadn't been official, but since we went to commercial break and came back, they are all official at this point. Nestor Cortez, official. The Baltimore Orioles trade, official. And so we wait to hear from AJ Preller and his thoughts on what he has accomplished here.
Yeah, if you're just tuned in, the players, Padre players that that were traded today, Stephen Kolek and Ryan Bergert both went to Kansas City in that Freddie Fermin acquisition. Brandon Lockridge, you're familiar with that name. He went to Milwaukee in that Nestor Cortez acquisition. And then even if you don't follow the minor leagues, Leo DeVries' name, and that's the big one of the day. He goes to the A's in the Mason Miller, J.P. Sears acquisition. But Dylan Cease is still a Padre, as is Robert Suarez, as is anybody else you want to name that, has contract situations, Luis Ariz. So, that's stuff you're going to have to deal with down the road. But Tony's not wrong. If you're just tuned in, I really don't think another team could make a case for adding more, on paper talent than the Padres added today.
Yeah.
I just don't think you can make a case for it.
To be hard pressed to find it.
I think
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys added to this roster.
Right.
They gave up 10. So you get 6, you give up 10. Only 2 of which of the 10 had actually played in the big leagues. Oh, no, 3, because Brandon Lockridge was the third one that had actually
had a lot of prospects. But we did that last year, and they fortified everything. Some of the names weren't traded today include Stephen Kwan and Luis Robert and Marcelo Zuna and Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Dylan Cease and Robert Suarez staying here with the Padres. Unless there's we should make a point that every now and again at 4:30, right, an hour and a half after it's over, they'll announce one more. But the trade deadline is over, and we've told you everything that's been announced.
So what this tells me in terms of Padres-Dodgers. Mm-hmm. The Dodgers clearly were out looking to get something, but they didn't press as hard as they normally do, it seems like. And I think probably because they feel like they can get healthy and, they got a good enough roster in their mind to compete. And I think that's going to be challenged. We'll see.
I think the Dodgers just fell asleep at the wheel and are going to be trampled by the Padres canyonading past them down the stretch.
All right. Looks like
they're introducing him.
AJ Preller is coming to the mic. I'll hand this off to Scraby so he can get you to that action live.
Trade deadline. They're joined by Padres President of Baseball Operations and General Manager AJ Preller. If this is the first time that you've ever been on a Padres Zoom call, please utilize the group chat feature. If you have a question, just put your name and affiliate in there, and I'll call on you when it's your turn. With that said, we'll start with Kevin Acey from the San Diego Union Tribune.
AJ, I have 2 questions, and the first one is what do you think you accomplished today? What were the greatest things you set out to do and that you accomplished?
Yeah, I think as a group, over the last few weeks, we talked about having a few needs with the big league team. Probably adding a couple of bats. Addressing left field and the bench. Looking at the catching spot and seeing if there's a possibility to change the mix a little bit there. And then potentially looking at the rotation, whether from a depth standpoint, obviously getting Michael King hopefully back soon and you coming back and pitching. has been a big boost, but adding some depth to the rotation and then, potentially adding some impact as well to the mound, which, kind of goes back into that, you can never have enough arms and never enough impact arms. So that was kind of the wish list over the last few weeks. And I think we've taken a team that's, I think, in position to play in the playoffs, and a very good team, and hopefully rounded it out and given Schulte and the coaching staff an opportunity to do their thing.
Hey, I know you have a lot of confidence in your group, in yourself, and the ability to constantly replenish the minor league system. Like, how do you explain, or how do you kind of reconcile sending away a few of your top guys for the future for this opportunity right now?
I mean, again, it's always the it's probably the toughest part of the job is having those conversations and making those calls. But again, we've talked about it. I think it's a testament to our scouting and player development group. We've had, whether it was in different points in time over the last few years, we've been able to be in this position to make these types of decisions and calls, and it's just because we have good players that other teams want. And I think it's I said it a few years ago when we made the Soto and Hader deal. I think at that point in time, we'd been on a run of 7 or 8 years where people were talking about us as being one of the better or best systems in the game. We made some trades at 21 for Joe, and the 20 deadline, 21 with Joe, you, and Blake Snell. And then a couple years later, because of our scouting and player development group, we're in a position again to do Soto and Hader, and the last few trade deadlines. So, again, I think we've talked about it. We know that the system is strong, and I can see it, you can feel it, but it's nice when you're having conversations with other teams that, there's a lot of interest in our players. And I think having made those deals that we made, we look at a system that has a lot of strength to it right now. And, we've already kind of started looking at, hey, here are some of our top prospects, and we've got a lot of guys that are going to play with Petco here in the future, along with helping out the big team.
And next we'll go to AJ Cassaville, MLB.com.
AJ, what is the view for Mason Miller's fit, and why it was so important to even add to this bullpen that's already obviously very good? And then, to expand on that question, what is his fit in the long term? Do you view him as a reliever, or could he be a starter down the road going forward?
I think adding to his strength, and I talked to Schulte about it a lot. We talk about it as a group. I think it's also about getting impact performers. Mason's an A-lane, type performer, one of the best in the world at what he does. And like we've seen so far, through the first 100 games, we have an opportunity to shorten the game. You want to take that, and I think also it gives Mike an opportunity to mix and match with the pen. An opportunity certain nights to be able to go one set of relievers and give guys an opportunity to get a little bit of a rest and a blow, and be fresh of hopefully what's a long run here for the rest of the regular season and into the postseason. So, and as far as Mason, he's a talented pitcher, and we saw him as an amateur. I think our area scout Jay Koenig was all over him as an amateur. He came into our pre-draft workout. I still remember talking to him on the first base line at our pre-draft workout and how impressed I was by him. Kind of messed that up because I think we asked him to take a cut in the draft, and from the slot value, didn't want to do it. So he probably shouldn't have been a Padre a few years ago. But he's a super talented pitcher, and I think we've talked about. I think the focus now is go do his job that he's been so good at doing in the bullpen. And help us win a championship, and then we'll talk in the future. It's nice to have 4+ years with Mason Miller, and he's a guy that brings a lot to the table, and we'll continue to see what's the best thing for him to impact the Padres as we go.
Obviously, Leo is you have really liked, and a lot of people in your organization have really liked, and there were reports that he was untouchable in past trade deadlines in the offseason. What allowed you to go out and trade him this year? What changed, if anything, and kind of how tough was that to make that move?
Yeah, it's the most difficult part of the job. I mean, Chris Kemp, in the international group, an unbelievable job at identifying Leo. We have history with Leo since 13, 14 years old in terms of when we started following scouting him. And he's going to be a very good major league player. I think we've talked about this in the past that. They're going to be guys that we sign and scout and develop, and we want them to do it at Petco at a championship level. But there's also the opportunity to to take a group that's very talented, and again, you're not doing it for a rental player, you're doing it for players in Sears and Miller that, have 4+ years of control in terms of the ability to impact, years of pennant races. So, I think we understood. He's asked about in every deal. He's a really good player. He's a tremendous prospect, and I think we weren't going to do it unless we got the right fit, the right pieces. And I think when we started looking at overall, I was trying to hit 3 or 4 different needs. We tried to figure out different ways to do that, and ultimately we ended up with the combination that we did today.
All right, next we'll go to Derek Togerson, NBC7.
Hey, AJ, what was it that put Fermin on your radar, and how are you able to pry him out of Kansas City?
Yeah, I mean, he's been somebody the last couple of years. I know, conversations with our scouting group, Pete DeYoung, a pro director, Schulte from across the field. You see a guy that's playing, along with Salvador Perez, and is so highly spoken about in the game of baseball. I think a little bit under the radar, because they have Salvi there, and maybe a little bit late, a late bloomer getting to the big leagues at a later age. But when you watch the Royals the last few years, you're like, hey, who's that catcher that's back there that's impacting the game both sides? It's a guy that, from a defensive standpoint, does a good job on the receiving side, blocking. He's got a good arm and can neutralize the running game, and it's tough out. So, two-way player, fits what we're doing. And from a makeup standpoint, it's kind of those A+ reports. When you start hearing about, how guys fit into a clubhouse and what other people think about him, the impact he has on his teammates, and how well liked he is. Again, I can't tell you how many reports over the last, over the last few weeks when we started digging more into Freddie, how many reports kept coming back about, winning player, glue guy, kind of core guy on the Royals. He was tough for them to give up, I know. But I think for that reason, we wanted him with us. So it ended up working out.
And then you brought in a lot of big league ready, big league capable guys. How do you foresee fitting all these guys on the 40-man and also on the active roster when the game time comes tomorrow night?
I think the pieces, again, I think that's kind of nice how the pieces came together. I think we talked about, obviously with Ramon Laureano, he can play all 3 outfield spots, both corners. It's a right-handed bat, which, helps our attack against left-hand pitching. You've got Ryan O'Hearn that can do the same, play both corners in the outfield and the first base, and and with Sheets and Gavin's ability to do the similar thing, play the corners, first base, DH. I think we talked about every night being able to either rest a starter, maybe rest 2 starters, and then having weapons to come off the bench. And if you're going to win a championship, you can't have really any weak links, and that was kind of the focus for us over the last few weeks. And as we got into the deadline room over the last couple of days, was the pieces fit. I think the personalities in terms of some guys that have been through the hunt before, and I think kind of not just good glowing makeup reports on the guys that we brought in, and them being really committed to go win a championship. I'm looking forward to see it. A lot of conversation with Schulte about the dynamic with the clubhouse and how this group will fit in. He has such a good feel for that room, and I think that the pieces and how they'll fit together, and those are the reason why we need to do those.
Thanks, AJ. Congrats.
Marty Caswell, Sporting Tribune.
Hi, AJ. There was a lot of dialogue around Dylan Cease. What led you to keeping him ultimately?
Yeah, I mean, Dylan's a tremendous pitcher. I think you're going to win. You're trying to win a World Series. You need guys that can pitch, in the front of a rotation. And Dylan is, when you get in Cy Young votes, we see the stuff. I think, I had a conversation with him yesterday, just letting him know that, from our standpoint, it's this time of year you hear a lot of speculation, and you're always, it's trade deadline, you're always going to pick up your phone, and when people are calling, that's a good sign that you're somebody that people have interest in. But for us, our best team in terms of, it starts with that starting pitching, getting Darvish back, hopefully getting King back, Pavetta and Cease. That's a great place to start. We think we required some other pitchers that are going to add to that mix. And for Dylan, when we made the trade last spring training, it was designed towards multiple postseason runs. Our best team has Dylan Cease on it, and I think he understands that.
And with the players that you have in your prime right now, a guy like Manny Machado, and you coupled with the guys who could leave in free agency, Arise, Cease, and King, does it feel like it's World Series or bust with the group that you do have in this season, this run?
I mean, I think the expectation of this group is always to go win a ring, go win a championship. I think that's that's the goal that we set out at the start of spring training. So, it's like last year we got to the playoffs. We felt like we were a dangerous team. We were one of the teams that had a chance to win. Ultimately, we fell a couple stages short of what we tried to do. So, this year, I think from our standpoint, it's going to be kind of learn from last year and go take another run at it. But we never look at it from our standpoint here, ownership, myself, Eric. It's not about one season. It's always about we've looked up now 2020. We made some deals at the deadline that year. 21, I think in the off season. Each year so far, and that was the marching orders from Peter and from Ron, was kind of be the team of the decade and have an opportunity every year for the city of San Diego to look out and have a team that can win a championship. That's you don't do that by putting everything all in or feeling like, hey, it's a bust if you don't win the championship that year. But that's our goal, and continue to extend this run. We feel good about where we're at with that.
Jeff Sanders, Union Tribune.
Hey, AJ, what can you tell us about Jorge Quintana, the kid that you got in the Brewers deal?
Yeah, I think he's a guy that Pete DeYoung, who oversees our pro group, he was super excited. In terms of getting a younger player, had gotten some attention as an amateur player. Again, somebody that's showing some ability to control the strike zone, has the ability to put bat on ball. I think it's like when you look at the frame, I feel like there's some room to grow. And obviously, we moved some players that in our system from a prospect standpoint that that ultimately left some more opportunity. And in that deal, you move a Lockridge that's been a nice piece for us here since we got him last year. You get back Nestor Cortez, but getting back Quintana was a real part of that deal. Getting a young player that we feel like has opportunity to learn and develop in the system. My guess is he'll have a chance to go out into full season ball here shortly, and we'll start to learn a lot more about him as we go. But he was, it's not just, I know sometimes you hear about the throw in or anything like that. That deal was, it was good to get Nestor, as a starter that's had a lot of success, and then also get Quintana as part of it was, that was all part of that deal for sure.
And then Ethan Salas has been hurt. What is he doing lately? Is he behind schedule? And did teams ask about him?
Yeah, Ethan, he's recovering from that stress reaction. I think from our doctors and medical staff, they talk about being a 3-month injury. So I think August 1st is the target date. He's been asymptomatic and feeling good. So I know he's very anxious to get back on the field. We've had other players within the past. Tatis, when he was a younger player, it's kind of a usage injury for young guys at times in the sport, and it's not anything that has been recurring in the players that we've had. We've seen it in the past. It's just more of a rest type deal. There's not much you can do other than taking the time to let your body recover. He's starting to gear up now. I think he's going to get in and play baseball in August and September. I think we'll look at the off season for him in terms of, is it fall league? Is it winter ball? How do we catch up on those at bats? He's it's a thing testament to him as a player that in a year where he has not played a lot of baseball, he was still mentioned in all kinds of scenarios. So I think everybody knows the talent that Ethan has, and I know he's super excited to come back and start playing.
You said August 1st was a target. Does that mean he's going to do stuff tomorrow, or did I misunderstand that?
I think to me, like it's kind of when he can get cleared to start getting more active on the field. So up until then, it was just more in the rest, recovery, rehab portion. Now we'll start to revisit again with our medical staff and training staff. They'll take the lead with it. All right, what does that mean in terms of his progression back to play? And we'll have some updates over the next couple of weeks.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Paulie Gonzalez, ESPN.
Hey AJ, when you were negotiating with the A's for Mason Miller, how real was the possibility of then trading Robert Suarez in your mind, and what got you to a point where you decided, you know what, we're going to keep them both?
Well, it wasn't, when we talked about Mason, it wasn't with the intention to then move, to then move a reliever, I think it was the intention to continue just to add to the bullpen. And, we see a scenario again, like when we looked at it, we think the scenario is a really good one in terms of having a lot of dominant, impactful relievers that can shorten up games. Obviously, after we made the acquisition, we started getting a lot of phone calls about what it means. And we've got a lot of relievers that teams had interest in. But honestly, like the conversations amongst our staff, when we talked about Mason, we knew it created opportunity, and we would listen on that. But ultimately, it was geared towards having those guys on the roster together, and and how that shaped our staff and our ability to win games, and we were excited about that.
And AJ, there are a lot of people in the industry who are in your position who are kind of, I guess, a little bit scared away of trading a big time prospect and looking bad years later when that prospect develops into somebody who's really, really good and being second guessed in that way. I'm wondering just like what got you to a point where it seems as if you're almost like numb to that right now.
Well, I mean, you're always looking to you're looking to make good moves and moves that make sense. I do know, I think I've said it a couple of times. I know in talking early on in the stage, right, where, in this job, I talking to Billy Beane, with the A's, and he would say, look, I've traded, MVP caliber players, Cy Young caliber players, all-stars, and, and over 25 years later, I'm in this chair and won a lot of games. So, focus more from his standpoint about what you're getting back and how it fits your current team. And, everyone, again, like everybody's got, different markets, different philosophies, different points in time from a competition side, standpoint. We've been through the stages from 2016 to 2020 where we were building, and it was all about talent acquisition and how you can acquire players. So we're kind of on the other side of that, and that was building some really talented farm systems, and a lot of those guys now are in the big leagues and playing well. But again, like, for us, we've talked more about making fair deals and deals that work for both sides. And you look at the Yankee deal last year. They got Juan Soto, and it's kind of fun to debate. Was that a good deal for the Yankees? Bad deal for the Yankees? Good deal for the Pods? Bad deal for the Pods? I think that example of like having a deal where the Yankees went and got a piece that they needed to go potentially win the World Series. We got other players that fit our roster and our team and have some carry forward value. That's the way the deals should be. Deals that help both teams win. That's the perspective we take. You obviously are always trying to make good trades, but I think we understand you got to give up good players to get good players. And at the end, if it puts your team in a good position for now and for the future, that's a positive outcome. And if we're doing our job, you're going to have players that are going to show up in the big leagues and are doing well, and I think teams understand that, yeah, we'll deal some players that'll do that, and I think that probably helps us make some other deals.
Thank you.
Back to AJ Castleman.
AJ, you just had 22 guys move in trades in, I guess, the last 12 hours. Can you give us a sense of what the last couple of weeks were like in terms of just how many possible trade scenarios you had, and just I guess all of the different factors at play and the way it all came together today?
Yeah, I mean, it really starts with our front office, our baseball ops group. I mean, different legs of that. It's different now because I think AJ, for the last few years, it's changed because you would have the draft, and then the draft was in the first week of June, so you'd have 7 or 8 weeks where you really could evaluate your system and kind of take your time getting into the trade deadline and kind of shift from draft to trade deadline mode. Now a lot of focus is on the draft until the draft is done, and then you've got more of a whirlwind with 2 weeks from draft until the deadline. But the prep period, with Pete DeYoung and his group, Adam Mascara from an R&D standpoint, his group, Cody Zupnik, the front office. That's you're doing a lot of work in preparation in the months of June and leading up to July. So. It's a lot of targets and focus. You're trying to predict what potentially could happen. You're going to be looking for major league pieces. You're going to be looking for prospect deals. But it just comes down to the fact that, we've got, it's a concerted effort. It's a lot of people on the same page. You're out there trying to be prepared. And then once you get to that draft for 2 weeks, it's kind of all systems go in terms of seeing, sending guys out to see your top targets, and then jumping into the boardroom for the last 5 days or so getting everybody off the road, and then come the good debates and conversations, and how many ideas. It's a lot. It's the whiteboard. It's fun. It's kind of what you would imagine, I think, about. But it's a super organized process, and I think when we get done with it, we feel like we're in position to make good moves and good decisions, and hopefully those things will work out.
AJ Preller's press conference in the wake of today's trade deadline results. You're listening to live coverage here on San Diego's #1 sports talk station, 97.3 The Fan. More now with the Padres and AJ.
Yeah, I think that's some conversations for myself, Shilty, the coaching staff, Ruben, both on the pitching staff, on the position player side. So we've talked about it going into this, but I think now we're gonna huddle up here in the next few hours and just kind of make sure we have everything in line with who's coming, when they're coming, what does it look like, how does that affect the roster, and we'll have some more information tomorrow on that.
Back to Kevin Acey.
EJ, what's the plan with Nestor Cortez? What's his health?
Yeah, I mean he's been in that rehab, pitching rehab outings, and over the last few weeks we had a scout, Kimball Crosby, that saw him in his last outing, I believe July 24th. So I think he's ready to go. Just talked to him on the phone. Again, I'll talk to Shilty and Ruben here in a little bit about exactly when and what it looks like, but we acquired him with the idea that he's going to come to the big leagues and pitch and start for us, and now just a matter of letting Shilton and Doom kind of put the schedule together, and some moving parts, in terms of some guys coming back from the IL, a couple trades, Michael King, where that all factors in, but we acquired Nestor with the idea of getting him a crack at starting.
Dylan Hernandez, LA Times.
Hey AJ, the fact that you guys aren't just currently in one of the wild card spots, but the fact that you're also just a few games back in the division, the fact that you guys can theoretically compete for one of the 2 first-round buys in the National League, how much did that influence you to be as aggressive as you were, or do you think you guys would have done this regardless of kind of where you were? Say if you had a wild card spot, but you're kind of way back in the division.
Yeah, I mean, I think you always have to be cognizant of where you're at, in terms of the standings and from a competitive standpoint. I think you're always constantly trying to evaluate, hey, is it worth it? Are these moves that are going to make a difference? So that's all part of the decisions. In terms of making addressing, like I said, a couple of the position player and bench spots, and the rotation depth and the bullpen. I think we kind of set that out, whether we were 2 games, 1 game up, 5 games. We knew we were going to have to shore that up if we wanted to be a team that could play deep into October. I think from that standpoint, we went in knowing, okay, we think we have a team that can compete and play deep. And ultimately, we have these needs, and let's go fill them. With us, it doesn't really change if you win 2 or 3 at the end, right before the deadline, you lose 2 or 3. I think you get a pretty good sense. I mean, the fans know. I think you get a pretty good sense of where you're at over the course of 100 games. And, I think we went into the last week having some goals. This is what we want to do. We don't really let a couple of games affect you from that standpoint. I think we knew, about a week ago, this is how we want to handle the deadline.
Thank you.
Jake Garagani, CBS 8.
AJ, I'm curious how you feel personally at the end of a week like this, and the buildup you talk about, and the deadline comes and it goes. And is it a relief? Is it a stress situation to see how they play the rest of the year? Like, what is your personal feelings at the end of the deadline?
I feel better than I look right now looking at the Zoom camera. So, yeah, I think, it's again, every year's a little bit different. I think, for our team, I think our team's put us in a position to get excited. I think, the way, again, it's not a perfect, not a direct path and a perfect, path to get to where we're at. We had a great start, and we kind of battled through, some of those injuries in May and June. And, I think battled through, kind of some mediocre results. But I think the good part there is, if you can, you kind of battle through that, and you look up and you look up and we're a pretty good team. I think we started to see that here over the last 4 or 5 games with the Cardinals and Mets series. So I think for us, the feeling's excitement. It's kind of looking forward. We feel like we made our club better. And I think we're looking forward to seeing how we do here in these last 2 months of the year.
Forgive me if this is too personal of a question, and you don't have to answer if it is, but if you could sit down and talk to Peter after a day like today, what do you think he would say?
He'd be super excited and pumped. I think positive as always. I think and again for Peter, he would be he'd always be asking a lot of questions. That was always like at the deadline. He would sit in the back of the room at times, and he loved interacting with our whole staff and kind of seeing the process. I think for John got a chance to do that in the last few days as well. So, but Peter's always he loved that the process. He'd always tell people go in the room, see the debates. He loved hearing the talk, and then super supportive of whether we got the guys we ultimately aimed out to get or not. Today we lined up on some targets. I think he's super proud, super excited.
Appreciate you answering that. The last quick one I got for you is why do you think you guys operate so differently than it seems like so many other MLB teams do when it comes to the trade deadline?
I mean, everybody I think has their own thoughts about what they're trying to accomplish. So we kind of focus on what we're trying to do, and the goals that we set out every year is a little bit different. This year obviously a lot of activity, and last year we were able to line up on some deals. I think part of it, like I mentioned earlier, is because we have good players in system. We have good prospects, and that's and I sound like a little bit like a broken record at times from this standpoint, but the scouting and development group, Chris Kemp and his team, they do a great job. And I think that enables us to at least have the conversation. Some years you line up, some years you don't. But I also think we understand that we talked about it from day one. It's with the idea of playing on the big stage, and I think if you're able to scout and develop well, you have an opportunity every year to be in this position.
Appreciate the time. Hope you get some sleep here soon.
Thanks, Jerry.
All right, last one in English. We'll go to Jeff Sanders.
Hey, Jude. Haven't had a chance to wrap our heads around the full accounting of what happened today. So I'll just ask you, did you add payroll today, and did ownership give you the okay to do that? And what was it like working with John Seidler for this first deadline?
Yeah, I think we're always cognizant of payroll and budget and what it looks like. And I think for us, in terms of a lot of the moves, they were moves that we acquired players, and by design, players that in terms of the salary scale and structure, they're players that that we have years, that we have multiple years with, and because of that, they're players that at this point in time, kind of starting their journey through that arbitration period. And from that standpoint, I think it's going to end up probably being a pretty neutral process. And, we're going to look at players that are going to be with us over the course of, 3, 4, 5 years. So when you give up prospects that, and young players that have a lot of value to us, not crazy about doing it for the 1 year rental, and I think with a lot of these deals, we did it for players that we're going to have multiple years, multiple tenant races. I think it fit for our budget. It fit for what we were trying to do in terms of looking at future years. You always have this year's plan and budget and program, and over the course of the next 3 years, I think it fit on both fronts, and probably end up making the moves we did.
And working with Seidler, his first deadline, what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, John's super supportive. Asking a lot of questions, and I think just enjoying the process. I think from the draft a few weeks ago, kind of similar, where John, Eric Grubner, Mark Loretta, you have guys popping in and out all the time. Jake Peavy, when he was here for the draft, and then adding to the process, kind of sharing their experiences, kind of picking their brain. So it's just, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. You're in the room for a long time, both in the draft and the deadline. But you feel that support, and it's just kind of, again, it's a good group that comes together, and ultimately hopefully make some good calls.
The last one for me is last year when you acquired Scott and Adam, Suarez remained the closer. Will he remain the closer again this time, or is that up for debate?
I think that'll be a conversation with Schilte and Ruben and then the players, I'm sure. So I think when we made the moves here today, I think we've got a group that's all in and they want to win. I checked with Schulte beforehand on that front, and I'll let those guys work it out. I don't get super involved in a lot of times, but I think the biggest thing in the comfort from this chair is we've got players that want to win a championship, and whether that was talking to Gavin Sheets or some of the new players that are coming in, they understand that it's going to take 26 guys, it's going to take 40 guys, and I'll let the group kind of work it out. We'll talk about it more, and I'm sure naturally we'll figure out a mix that fits and makes sense for us.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Lastly, if AJ will humor us and take a couple questions in Spanish, we'll go to Tony Alvarez.
Or go to Tony Gwynn for the Spanish questions. I'd like to hear his.
We need to get to break, right?
We do.
I'm taking this to break. All right.
We'll break down what he said.
We'll break down, and then we'll talk about what AJ had to say. Before you come back, though, you'll get a little bit of traffic.
From
the gondola pulls in.
Yeah.
It goes very slow.
Yeah, it slows down
like
for everybody.
Really slow. As we're getting off, over to my left, there's a couple getting in the gondola, going up the mountain. So it's the opposite for them. They're standing there. The gondola comes up. The door opens. You step on. Well, there was a commotion.
Uh-oh.
There was a commotion.
Someone fell?
There was a commotion, and Lori goes, "Hey, there's a commotion."
She said commotion?
I don't think she said that, but we go kind of not hustling, but walking over there quickly. There's a lady who has fallen as she's trying to get into the gondola. She's now got one leg in the gondola.
Oh, no!
The other leg and body trapped underneath the gondola.
90.
No, she's probably in her late 50s. How do I say this best?
Oh, she's heavyset?
She's in the shape of somebody who's in their 70s. You've got to rescue the poor lady. She's trapped under the gondola.
I'm sorry.
And of course, as soon as she falls and there's the commotion, the guy running the station stops the gondola.
Okay, I was going to
Which means everybody on the mountain and 4 miles away has to stop. Everybody has to stop while we try to extricate the lady from the gondola.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Underneath the gondola.
What?
She's got one leg on the gondola. The rest of her body is underneath the gondola. And when I arrive to see what's going on, I'm kind of the first or second person there.
You're a first responder?
Pretty much. The guy running the gondola place is busy stopping
Traffic,
the ride.
yeah.
No, he's stopping the ride.
Oh, okay, all right.
So we're kind of first there. Lori's behind me. The lady's on her back. She's looking straight up in the air. And the only description I have is one of utter panic and utter terror combined with total helplessness.
Oh, I thought you were going to say embarrassment.
No, total helplessness. She's not only trapped, but she's not even remotely doing anything to help herself. She's kind of in a panic, and you think something terrible is going to happen, or she does.
Okay.
I go over there. First thing, breathe.
That's what you said?
I told the lady to
That's
breathe.
Good, that's good.
I said, you're going to be okay.
That's good.
Just breathe.
That's good.
Try to relax.
That was the perfect thing you could have said.
As I'm stupidly pulling this 250-pound gondola, trying to pull it off of her. Yeah. Okay. Well, you're getting
the gondola is way heavier than 250 pounds.
Yeah, right. 1,000-pound gondola.
So you're trying to like move the gondola.
Just move it a little to.
Is her leg like? How is she attached to this gondola?
Well, I told you, her one leg's actually on the gondola in the doorway.
Okay.
Then the rest of her body's underneath. What is stuck with her in the gondola is her belly, not her leg.
Oh, no.
That's right. Okay.
No.
So I'm pulling. By the time finally a couple more people pull and we are able to get enough airway to get her to scramble out of there. And then she immediately stepped on the gondola to go take her ride up the mountain. And off she went.
This is
I felt like I saved her life. I really do. I honestly felt like I almost saved her life.
I kind of will credit you with this.
You know, she was. I think if I didn't tell her to breathe, I think she would have gone into some sort of shock or whatever you do.
No,
she was
you're
going
right.
into a
You're right.
panic, Scraby.
You're
She was going
absolutely
into
right.
an absolute panic, and you know, I had to calming her down. I think was the number one thing. She wasn't in any real danger, but she wasn't feeling great because she was trapped under the gondola.
But
the
fact
look on,
that you said her belly was
her belly. Yeah, I'm telling you, Scrabe, it was a factor. And there was, there's a couple of people pulling on an arm trying to drag her out.
I'm crying.
I know. There's people on the other side with their arm. They're trying to drag her. I'm like lifting the gondola so she can get a little room to get out of there.
You're like, hey, I'm going to take the gondola. It's lighter.
All right. I didn't say that. You did. But it was quite the scene.
I am happy that she's okay, obviously.
She's fine. If she got right on the gondola.
If this was a worse story, I would not be laughing. But she's fine. You did probably help her a lot more than you think you did.
I think so, because she was able to calm down just a tad. The gondola pulls in.
Yeah.
It goes very slow.
Yeah, it slows down
like
for everybody.
really slow. As we're getting off, over to my left, there's a couple getting in the gondola, going up the mountain. So it's the opposite for them. They're standing there. The gondola comes up. The door opens. You step on. Well, there was a commotion.
Uh-oh.
There was a commotion.
Someone fell?
There was a commotion, and Lori goes, hey, there's a commotion.
She said commotion?
I don't think she said that. But we go kind of, not hustling, but walking over there quickly. There's a lady who has fallen as she's trying to get into the gondola. She's now got one leg in the gondola.
Oh, no!
The other leg and body trapped underneath the gondola.
90.
No, she's probably in her late 50s. How do I say this best?
Oh, she's heavy set?
She's in the shape of somebody who's in their 70s. You've got to rescue the poor lady. She's trapped under the gondola. Of course, as soon as she falls and there's the commotion, the guy running the station stops the gondola.
Okay, I was going to
Which means everybody on the mountain and 4 miles away has to stop. Everybody has to stop while we try to extricate the lady from the gondola.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Underneath the gondola. She's got one leg on the gondola. The rest of her body is underneath the gondola. And when I arrive to see what's going on, I'm kind of the first or second person there.
You're a first responder?
Pretty much. The guy running the gondola place is busy stopping
traffic.
The ride.
Yeah.
No, he's stopping the ride.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we're kind of first there. Lori's behind me. The lady's on her back. She's looking straight up in the air. And the only description I have is one of utter panic and utter terror combined with total helplessness.
Oh, I thought you were going to say embarrassment.
No, total helplessness. She's not only trapped, but she's not even remotely doing anything to help herself. She's kind of in a panic, and you think something terrible is going to happen, or she does.
Okay.
I go over there. First thing, breathe.
That's what you said?
I told the lady to breathe.
Good. That's good.
I said, you're going to be okay.
That's good.
Just breathe.
That's good.
Try to relax.
That was the perfect thing you could have said.
As I'm stupidly pulling this 250-pound gondola, trying to pull it off of her. Yeah. Okay. Well, you're getting
the gondola is way heavier than 250 pounds.
Yeah, right. 1,000-pound gondola.
So you're trying to move the gondola.
Move it a little to.
Is her leg how is she attached to this gondola?
Well, I told you her one leg's actually on the gondola in the doorway.
Okay.
Then the rest of her body's underneath. What is stuck with her in the gondola is her belly, not her leg.
Oh no.
That's right. Okay.
No.
So I'm pulling. By the time finally a couple more people pull and we are able to get enough airway to get her to scramble out of there. And then she immediately stepped on the gondola.
Here on Gwynn and Chris, and we just finished listening to AJ Preller in his press conference and kind of explaining their mindset heading in, how they feel about the moves. Covered a lot of stuff, actually.
Yeah. Didn't say much. Covered a lot of stuff. Didn't say much. He's a genius.
You know what
at
it
that.
is when it comes to that.
He's a genius. He's an absolute genius. He answers the question, and then you get the information, and you say, what did I learn there?
The questions that were asked that wouldn't reveal anything, he answered. Specifically, what was their plan going into the deadline?
Right.
What did they, I think Kevin asked him, what did they accomplish today?
Yeah.
He was
willing to talk
about
that.
And he was, he got a couple bats,
Yeah.
rotation. He also hit on something we talked about in the roundtable and we talked about earlier in the show. All of these moves that he makes are always for now and down the line.
Yeah.
He said, I'm not too keen on the rental players. Every time he makes a move, there is a guy on the other end that has more control left of him.
Right. Nestor Cortez would probably be the one rental you could say today. Everybody else figures to be around for a while. The other thing he discussed was, why now, or what, was able to get him to part with Leo Dallas DeVries. And I think that's a question a lot of people would want to ask him if they ran into him on the street. So, it's a good question. And, the thing that stood out to me about his answer there, Tony, was, and he said this before, it takes good, talent to get good players. He also said that he expects him and his team to do their job, which is to replenish the farm system over and over again. This is what they are paid to do in his estimation.
Literally their job.
And, I'm going to stay with this because I feel good about it. They parted with 10 prospects last year, and they weren't supposed to have anybody left, but they must have had somebody left because everybody wanted their prospects again this year.
10 more. That was the thing I took away from it.
Right.
And listen, AJ could be selling high there, but he certainly indicated that he felt good about the calls that they were getting about their guys.
Their guys.
And I think you're not able to move in the way he moved today unless you're getting calls from other teams about those guys. So clearly the 10 that they lost last year and supposedly didn't have anymore, that just doesn't hold any water at this point. And I think the thing that they're confident in, and I think we all should be, because if you've been here from the time AJ Preller's been here, he's always drafted well and developed. And maybe those guys haven't reached the big league level here, but they've reached the big league level elsewhere. And the guys he's got in return, more importantly, have only made the organization better.
It's working out, and we'll see. I mean, I think, again, Leo Dallas DeVries could become the next great thing. You give me a World Series this year, be more than happy to let him to become the great thing.
The question that it's an interesting question. Why now with Leo DeVries? And because obviously that indicates that you weren't willing to do it before. How many number one prospects the team do you ever hear a GM say, yeah, we're open to moving them? It's always a no until it's not, because that's how he's your number one prospect. And so, he found the right piece that he was willing to move him for. That's what it really boils down to.
And the Padres have a ridiculous bullpen. And he also mentioned this, and I had thought of this earlier too, Tony. With 5 closers, basically now, and again,
he's in the closers and shortstops.
He's not a dummy. I mean, closers win games. And whether we're going to call him, what was Ben's the
sexy six, or what was it?
The filthy five. The filthy five. I was thinking the fifth dimension. There's a lot of ways you can go. All right, but look, he could honestly, or Mike Schilt can use 3 of them one night and 2 of them the next night, and have not lose anything per se, instead of having to go guys back to back and 3-4 nights in a row. Baseball is becoming a specialized bullpen game, and I hate it. But this is what it is. Yesterday, the Royals had a 9-pitcher shutout. First time ever in baseball.
That's crazy.
This is what it's heading to. And right now, conceivably, the Padres could start a playoff game, ask anybody to get one time through the order, and then start bringing in their star bullpen in the 4th or 5th inning and close the game out. That appeals to AJ. Pretty appealing, honestly, because it sounds like it's going to be really hard for the other teams to score a lot of runs.
I think it's important that we clarify that is where it's headed in the postseason for sure. I don't know that. I don't know that you can survive a full 162 going at it like that. And I think that's part of the reason why, I think that played a part in the reason why AJ addressed it. Those guys are at the top end in terms of innings pitched and usage. Padres bullpen guys. They played a ton of one-run games.
Yeah.
So regardless of whether they won or were winning, they had to pitch because those games were close. And so now you've tightened that bullpen. You've given some starters that may be able to get a little bit longer to eat up some of that. I just think that this was as well of an executed deadline for the Padres in terms of what they needed. They got everything they needed. I mean, it started off as like, oh, you guys are addressing strengths. Well, they didn't just address strengths. They addressed weaknesses. They added to depth. They did a lot of good things. AJ Preller's job is done. Now it's on players, staff to go out and do their job now.
To me, the 13 guys that they are left with after today, the 13 position players are Arise and O'Hearn, Cronenworth, Bogarts and Iglesias, Manny, Sheets and Laureano, Merrill, Fernando, Fermin, plus one of the catchers. We don't know which one they're going to keep. I can't imagine they're going to keep them both. And then they get one more bench guy. And I think it would be Bryce Johnson at the expense of Tyler Wade and Trenton Brooks.
Yep.
So that's what they have. And that is a stronger team. I don't think there's any question there. Yeah. The rotation before Michael King comes back is still 6 players deep.
Give us the rotation before Michael King comes back.
Pivetta, Darvish, and Cease, Sears, Cortez, and Randy Vasquez coming in 6th.
Yeah.
He's been the 3 guy all year. He just fell to 6th. And that's before King comes back.
Yep.
And the bullpen, come on. The worst 3 guys you have, the worst 3 is David Morgan, Wandy Peralta, and Matsui.
By the way, they've all pitched in big
They're not
parts.
bad
Yeah,
pitchers.
they're not.
Those are the worst 3. The other 5 are, just an embarrassment of riches. Miller, Suarez, Adam, Estrada, Morejon. So that's a really good-looking team to me.
I mean, just think, last year, Brian Hoeing was squarely a part of that bullpen.
They might have to send him to single A.
He might not get another look this year.
I don't think he will. I don't know what, where you're going to do with there's been so many guys that have been so good this year that who was the right hand? Oh, Reynolds.
Yes. Yeah.
What happened to that guy?
He's down there working still.
Keep on working, big fella.
He's another one that they've developed and pitched in some spots this year. But
Alec Jacob started the year. He had some moments. He's not going to be with this team if for a while. There's a lot of pretty good guys that they're not going to be able to squeeze in here. Speaking of guys getting squeezed out, there was one name I saw just a little bit ago. The Cubs apparently, after Taylor Rogers, and he's the lefty that pitched for the Padres.
Taylor's the lefty.
He's the twin.
He's not the knuckle dragger.
Exactly. Taylor got traded to the Pirates yesterday.
Yes.
Today he got moved to the Cubs. He goes to the Cubs. Ryan Presley, DFA. See ya.
Wow.
I don't know how much money they spent to get him in Chicago, but good night.
Let me see.
Wait, he was a trade, wasn't he? He was in the Tucker deal, I think.
Okay. Well, whatever it was, the Cubs were expecting some things. So, it's a dog eat dog world, Sam. And tonight I'm wearing a Milk-Bone underwear.
It's a dog. It's a dog. It's a dog eat dog world.
Yes.
Can we go back to the part where
It's
Chris
a dog
said
eat dog world.
He's wearing Milkbone underwear.
Yeah, that's the all-time classic line from Norm Peterson as he walked into the bar at Cheers.
I don't know that I even heard it. I think my brain shut off when he said it because I didn't.
You were singing, "It's a doggy dog world."
Oh, we've reached the 5 o'clock hour.
Are we getting delirious yet? Maybe so.
It feels like it. We'll continue this deadline. I would say successful one for now. Until games are played starting tomorrow. Padres take on the Cardinals, 3-game set. We'll get to break, start the happy hour on the other side. More Gwynn Chris.
think, for the Padres. There must be a couple of disgruntled fans somewhere who think today was an outright disaster. You know, I mean, look, if they don't win the World Series this year, then you say, hey, what price did we pay to not win the World Series? I think most Padre fans are pretty excited, though. 5:02 is the time. Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Scraby, Gwynn and Chris, 97.3 The Fan. If you're just tuning in, a trade deadline day that basically the San Diego Padres found themselves in the starring role around baseball. They got Mason Miller, the 102-mile-per-hour reliever from the A's. Left-handed starter J.P. Sears from Oakland, Leo Dallas DeVries, part of the package that went back to the A's there, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But Freddie Fermin is the new catcher acquired from Kansas City. They gave up two pretty good young pitchers here, I think, Ryan Bergert and Stephen Kolek. They acquired Ryan O'Hearn, all-star outfielder, also Ramon Laureano. Both, by the way, have OPSs, both O'Hearn and Laureano, over 850. So these guys have both had really good years for a bad season in Baltimore. They come to the Padres for another minor league prospect package. Nestor Cortez, probably famous for something he'd rather not be famous for, giving up that Freddie Freeman grand slam last year in the World Series. But overall, pretty good lefty this year with the Brewers mostly. He comes to the Padres in a trade that included sending Brandon Lockridge to the Brewers. And we should also mention there was one more trade. We haven't talked about it a lot. We did mention it, though. Will Wagner, a utility left-handed hitter, comes from Toronto to the Padres.
Son
Will
of
Wagner,
Billy.
son of Billy Wagner, correct. So those are the new 7 acquisitions. 10 prospects in all were traded today, along with Kolek, Bergert, and Lockridge. I think you're up to date.
I think one of the things that I get to do that allows me to get some insight on guys when I probably wouldn't have it is I do these radio hits over different places in the United States, and
Right.
I've been doing a radio hit with the Baltimore guys all season long, and so it's because of that I knew about O'Hearn. I knew about Laureano because as the guys I talk to weekly are Baltimore guys and obviously want them to do well. They were in the dumps pretty early because of the season ball. So they were talking about trades long before anybody else was.
Right.
But Ramon Laureano and O'Hearn kept coming up. And so as we got closer, I was kind of educated on those guys, and they just happened to be pieces that would fit the Padres pretty well. And as it turns out, AJ and his staff identified those same pieces
and got them
both. I think O'Hearn was the one that I think they were expected to move. I don't think they expected Laureano to have the kind of season he's had. He's been terrific for them all year. As you said, over 800 OPS.
He has a better OPS than O'Hearn does.
Yeah. So great moves, man. I can't say that enough.
Laureano, 15 homers, 884. Ryan O'Hearn, 13 homers, 837. So, yes, it's been a great year for Ramon Laureano so far. And by the way, Tony, thanks for doing all those radio hits all over the country. I don't know if you're aware of it, but the fact that you do them means very few people ever ask me. So I'm very appreciative of that.
He's sad.
No, he's not.
He's sad.
Do you think anybody ever calls over here and goes, hey, I know you guys got that Gwynn and Chris show. Any way we could get a hold of Chris?
Yeah, they do. Remember when you got to go on Bart Winkler, even though I had Bart Winkler on my show,
Whoa,
and
what?
he didn't even want me?
What show? Who's Bart Winkler?
Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
You went on his show, Chris.
I did?
You gotta remember people's shows.
Maybe this is why they're not calling you, Chris. You don't even remember you're on the show.
I didn't even know I was there when I was there.
Good point, Tony.
Sorry, Bart.
He's the show directly after the Scraby Show.
Oh, the national radio show, Bart
Yes,
Winkler.
Yes.
Got it.
As opposed to the local one? Is that
Yeah, I know. I'm
And
trying to wiggle my way out of this.
I do have a Scraby Show tonight. So
what's going to be the topic on the Scravy Show? I wonder. We've beat this one down. I don't know if
there's some good badminton stories out there. And
knock it probably.
No, someone did want me to talk about the rugby team. Did you see this? The San Diego Legion like joined forces with like an LA team, and so they're like one team now. I don't even really understand the story, but I got to read it a little bit more before I criticize something.
Why are you criticizing? They're just making the team a better team. What are you going to criticize?
Why do you want to go from being a San Diego team to a California team? Like San Diego wasn't.
Where are the games going to be played?
I don't know, the moon.
Why don't you do a little research before you?
I told you I needed to read more before I criticize the team.
Please do. One game in progress that Padre fans would be keeping an eye on. Reds lead Atlanta 3-1, bottom of the fourth. Reds are 3 back of the Padres for the wild card currently. Ellie De La Cruz, a 2-run homer in this game for Cincinnati. And some of the other big names that were moved today, I thought it was really interesting that when I started breaking it down and realizing that the biggest ones all went to the American League, which is fine with me. You had Suarez, Eugenio Suarez last night going to Seattle. You had Carlos Correa today to Houston. You had the Yankees picking up a couple of big name players, as they always do.
And Bednar,
David Bednar, and Camilo Doval. Thank you, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
So Tigers got Charlie Morton. Tigers got Kyle Finnegan. The National League big names really were Yohan Duran, who was traded last night to the Phillies. And then today, Cedric Mullins going to the Mets. And again, I'm not really in this to worry too much about the Dodgers, but after all, they are the team that we're always keeping we're normally in the shadow of the Dodgers, Tony. Certainly not today.
Yeah.
The Dodgers, the only acquisitions they made, Brock Stewart, a reliever, a good reliever, but a middle reliever nonetheless, from the Twins. And they traded James Outman there. And then they got a backup outfielder, Alex Call, from Washington. And they traded Dustin May to the Red Sox. We haven't heard what their return is for that. But that's a very quiet trade deadline day for the Dodgers. You got to think that they went in thinking they'd do a little more than that, especially since this team has been less than perfect lately.
I think you start to – they've been pretty active the last 2 years at the deadline. How much has their farm system taken a hit because of it?
Maybe. Yeah.
You have a ton of injuries, obviously, at the big league level. And maybe the thought is we'll get healthy by the time we need to get healthy, and we don't necessarily need to make the moves. Because remember, they made a slew of moves during the offseason. I think because of that probably plays a little bit of a part in why they didn't make the moves. And I just think the buyer's market was robust, as was the seller's market. I think the Diamondbacks falling off, the Giants falling off, I think accelerated what we saw today. I mean, the Diamondbacks ended up keeping Gallen, but they moved Naylor, they moved Suarez,
Kelly,
they moved Merrill Kelly,
Jordan
Montgomery. So they moved some of the pieces that they had that came on the board, and then the Giants same way. They moved a couple bullpen arms, which was probably the market that was heavily saturated in terms of want. And I just think because of that, it made it an interesting, made it a more interesting deadline that we got this season.
And let's also, freely admit that the Dodgers are not without any talent on the roster already.
I was getting at that with the injuries. Like, they got plenty of talent.
Yes, they're going to get Max Muncy back here probably next week. They hope to get Mookie Betts just back to being Mookie Betts. And all their pitchers are getting close. Blake Snell's supposed to be back.
I think
for his next start, right?
Yeah, next start.
So they're getting better and more healthy.
I wonder how much, in terms of Mookie, I wonder how much that mystery illness he got at the very beginning of the season when he lost all that weight is actually affecting him now.
I think it has to be. I know it's affecting me is what happened yesterday when the manager, Dave Roberts, and the trainer rushed out to the mound. Shohei Ohtani left the game in the middle of an at-bat, and both Scraby and I said, oh my goodness, he could be gone forever.
You guys thinking the
what idiots
well,
we are.
No, it looked like he was. Everybody was very concerned about it, and then
come on, Tony. When he left the mound, nobody thought he had a cramp.
Yeah, my phone popped up saying,
Did you
update?
Did
Shohei
you guys
has
see any
cramps.
of the game prior to them coming out?
No, but we did see
kind of. Yeah,
he was definitely walking out like he had a hitch in his giddy up a little bit, and I think that's where the cramp was happening. And
Then maybe we weren't. Maybe it was just wishful thinking.
I think it was.
His arm.
And then, listen, as a Padres fan, there's nothing wrong with that. You could
maybe
wishfully
that's
think
what it was. But
you can wishfully think something.
When he went out yesterday, I thought that was curtains for Shohei, but apparently, no such luck there. Are we in a break here?
Yeah, it's time to go to break.
All right, let's hit traffic. More Gwynn and Chris.
Traffic
happy
is
hour.
not ready yet. So
Well, that gives me time then to thank our fine happy hour sponsors. Did you put it in the paper?
I sure did.
Where?
5 o'clock, where it always
GL Pools.
Doesn't move.
I knew it was GL Pools. I just wanted to get all the rest of it in there. They are our swimming pool experts. Stop it. Trusted by thousands of San Diegans since 2006. Baseball season's in full swing. So is swim season, called GL Pools. Mention radio. Free month of pool service. That is the way to go. How about now, Scrabe?
Yeah, no, traffic's still not ready, but it'll be at the end of the break.
The Scraby Show is available in
all day trade day. I got to tell you, good job by everybody around here. From the very beginning of things, Ben and Woods, Paulie, they were on this morning when the Padres acquired Mason Miller, J.P. Sears, and then right into the roundtable discussion, which was lively and entertaining. We didn't really know everything at that point, but we talked like we did, right? And then in the early afternoon, Braden and Frank had it covered, and during the acquisition there of Fermin. Also, I think late in their show was when the Padres got O'Hearn and Laureano. And then Tony and you and me, Scrape, wrapping it all up this afternoon. We also heard from, AJ Preller. I'm choked up. I'm so excited.
I was going to say.
Right. Yeah. AJ Preller at the press conference today. We'll play a little bit of that for you in case you missed it. But his the highlights of it, I can tell you, acquiring Mason Miller and somehow not trading Suarez, ending up now with a bullpen to beat all bullpens, one would certainly think, and addressing the fact that they did trade Leo Dallas DeVries, and AJ Preller saying what I like to hear, and that is, well, it's our job to get more guys like that, so that if we have to trade him, we'll trade him. I mean, he says, look, it's our job to keep fortifying these farm systems time and time again. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're paid to do. And whether you're an AJ fan or not, and I've said this many times before, if you're not, I'm not going to change your mind. But I would think most people have to admit that he's pretty darn good at fortifying the farm system. That's just something he's good at. And they traded 10 prospects last year. I've been saying 10. I think they actually traded an 11th prospect if you include that Will Wagner trade. So 11 prospects were traded today by the Padres, including DeVries. And for all those who said last year they won't have any prospects left, turns out apparently they did have a few left.
Yeah.
Like 11 of them.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Someone tweeted me, are the Padres going to have to sign the Savannah Bananas to fill out their minor league system?
I personally don't care. I don't go to too many games in El Paso or Fort Wayne or wherever else. I'm sure they'll find some people off the street. I'll be more than happy to play. I mean, to me, it's about winning the World Series championship. We've never done it. We haven't really been that close. The last time we were in the World Series, we're coming up on almost 30 years. For me, when you get a chance to win, and I think the NL is pretty wide open, right? We said it all along. At the All-Star break, no team had won 60 games. The Brewers are the best record in the National League. The Blue Jays are the best record in the American League. I'm not trying to poke at those teams, Scraby, but is there anybody out there that legitimately thinks the best two teams in baseball are Brewers and Blue Jays? I think they're among the best, but there's no clear best. So to me, you make a run at it in a year like this where, I don't think there's a clear-cut favorite. You could end up winning this division if all goes well. The final 2 months, you're only 3 games back.
I agree with you. I mean, 3 games back changed a lot, I think.
Yes, if the trade deadline would have been at the beginning of the month,
like 9 games back,
they
or
were
whatever
8
it was.
Games
8?
back,
Okay.
yes. And as a matter of fact, the month of July was incredibly good for the Padres. I don't know if you realize this. The Padres went 15-10 in July, which is, okay. But the Dodgers were 5 games under.
Yep.
The Giants and Rockies were also 5 games under. The Diamondbacks were 6 games under. The Padres picked up a handful and then some against every team in the division this month of July, and it closed out the way it did today.
I don't like how, because I was listening to national radio last night and earlier today about the trade deadline, and they were saying, well, Padres have to do this because they are so far behind the Dodgers. I'm like, are you paying attention? Because obviously not. Like, they're not so far behind the Dodgers.
It's not an accurate statement.
It's not accurate. They're
Not
3
at all.
games behind the Dodgers.
Yes, they are.
With like 50-something to go.
Correct. Padres are 60-49 right now, meaning since a 14-3 start, they're 46-46. But I don't think that tells the whole story because the last 5 have gotten everybody pretty excited, and now you top it off with what they were able to accomplish today. I'm sorry, Scrabe. Look, I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to the first game. I hope it's not tomorrow because Pavetta's pitching, but looking forward to the first game that we get into the 5th inning with a 1-run lead and the bullpen gate swings open and you just start bringing these guys in.
Mason Miller. Wow. I mean, they're not going to put – you can't replace Estrada. He hasn't given up a run in like a month and a half. You can't replace
hasn't given up a run since the beginning of the season practically.
And I think Mason Miller, like, where is he going to come in? Are they going to have a different type of look every single night?
You know, this is funny that we talked about everything today, but we didn't talk about what the bullpen's actually going to look like.
It's going to be crowded.
My prediction is Suarez will still be the 9th inning guy.
I agree.
You may not like that out there, wherever you are, but I don't think Schultz going to change that. And I think you will see with the addition of Mason Miller, what I think you'll see is I think Estrada is your 6th inning guy now. I wouldn't even be shocked if they move Jason Adam up to number 7. And then depending on lefty-righty, you've got Morejon, and because Morejon's really been the best. You got Morejon and Miller for the 8th and Suarez for the 9th. But I think it's open to discussion depending on the game.
Yeah, and depending on what the lineup looks like on the other side.
Has any team ever had this many 5 good relievers that are all like closing all-star type players? I don't know. 5. I've seen teams with 2, 3, maybe 5. That's crazy.
And they made the Padres found their closer for the future because Mason Miller's under control through 2029, and he's converted. Let's see, it was like 48 of 53 save opportunities in his 2 years. So he's pretty good at closing the game down. Let's
put it this way: he throws hard enough that he can make a mistake or two.
I mean, Jackson Merrill took him deep to walk him off last year.
It did happen. Yes, Mason Miller with the 0.99 career WHIP in 2.5 seasons. It's impressive.
That is impressive. 2.5 WAR last year, Chris. I know how much you love WAR.
Yeah, I don't love that, but I do love this. He has retired 115 outs this year. 59 by strikeout.
59, huh?
That's way more than half.
That is a lot.
Yeah, good luck. You better bring a tennis racket up there and be ready to really cut loose with it. By the way, I can't let it pass.
Oh, I knew you were going to it.
Before the bottom of the hour. But the first touchdown of the NFL preseason is on the board. Your old friend, Scraby, Trey Lance.
Oh, man.
For the Chargers.
Boo.
Throws a short touchdown to tight end Will Dissly. Chargers 7, Lions nothing.
The kneecap cannibal, Dan Campbell, was being interviewed before the game, and I've never seen so many veins popping out of his head before. He's ready for the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing. The very first play of the Hall of Fame game, his kick returner fumbled the ball away to the Chargers, so didn't start too well. All right, we'll take a quick timeout. We'll hear from A.J. Preller, if you missed it, what he had to say about today's trade deadline developments and kind of a final wrap-up of everything that happened on Gwynn and Chris. Don't forget Scraby Chronicles at 6. Chris and Tony and Scraby, and a little more Scraby for you at the top of the hour. Padres.
I just wanted
to throw that in there again.
I did.
You know the title of it? By any chance?
It's just a generic bed. We're
just
not
generic music. Oh, that's right. We can't play actual people's music anymore.
Well, yeah, people
we used to.
YouTube doesn't like it. And so I just decided to go with generic music because it's easier.
Good stuff. Good stuff. There's probably a handful of old Chris Ello fans who remember Eric Johnson, Cliffs of Dover, like way back when. But that was kind of a classic open that I used to have back in the day. Now, would you just not be able to play that now, even if you found it?
Would we
have to pay money to somebody or something?
YouTube might flag us for copyright infringement.
Yeah,
they have AI that goes through the entire video and finds when you're playing something that is not yours.
Yeah, well, then let's just not do that. I don't want to get in trouble.
You don't strike me as a guy who cares about getting in trouble.
True, not true. I was very rarely in trouble as a kid. Pretty good guy.
Always in trouble.
Pretty good guy. Back in that time frame. All right. AJ Preller met with the media late this afternoon in the wake of a day that saw him get Mason Miller, JP Sears, Freddie Fermin, Ryan O'Hearn, Ramon Laureano, Nestor Cortez, and even Will Wagner. Here's what AJ said, kind of in an overview about all the acquisitions.
As a group, over the last few weeks, we talked about having a few needs with the big league team, probably adding a couple of bats, addressing left field and bench, looking at the catching spot, seeing if there's a possibility to change the mix a little bit there. And then potentially looking at the rotation, whether from the depth standpoint, obviously getting Michael King hopefully back soon, and you coming back and pitching has been a big boost. But adding some depth to the rotation, and then potentially adding some impact as well to the mound, which kind of goes back to that. You never have enough arms or never enough arms. So that was kind of the wish list over the last few weeks, and I think we've taken a team that's I think. In position to play in the playoffs, a good team, and hopefully rounded it out and giving Schulte and the coaching staff an opportunity to do their thing.
Hey, I know you have a lot of confidence in your group, in yourself.
My bad. That was your bad. Yep. Okay. Don't you dare ever cut off Kevin Acey like that again. That was kind of the general commentary. Now, we told you all the players they got, which just on paper, straight up is the most any team got in terms of adding players today. But what they gave up, and there's people that are, going to say, okay, but we gave up 11 prospects, including Leo Dallas DeVries, who is supposedly untouchable. Well, AJ was asked about parting with DeVries.
It's the most difficult part of the job. I mean, Chris Kemp, in the international group, an unbelievable job at identifying Leo. We have history with Leo since 13, 14 years old in terms of when we started following, scouting him. And he's going to be a very good major league player. I think we've talked about this in the past. That, there are going to be guys that we sign and scout and develop, and we want them to do it at that championship level. But there's also the opportunity to take a group that's very talented, and again, you're not doing it for a rental player, you're doing it for players and Sears and Miller that have 4+ years of control in terms of the ability to impact years of pennant races. He's asked about that deal. He's a really good player. He's a tremendous prospect, and I think we weren't going to do it unless we got the right fit pieces. And I think we started looking at overall, I was trying to hit 3 or 4 different needs. We tried to figure out different ways to do that, and ultimately we ended up with the combination that we did today.
There's your answer for those of you who say, "What are we doing?" The other thing too that AJ said that we didn't hear there, but I liked what he said about it, and that was, hey, we gave up,
it's the most
more prospects today. our job is to find more. That's what we're supposed to do. And they did trade 10 prospects last year at the deadline and seemed to be able to fortify okay. So
it does seem like we do freak out about the prospects being gone.
Sure.
And then the next trade season, AJ Preller trades prospects.
He's able to find a way to do it. I mean, there must be somebody who likes these guys. So they're making offers for them. AJ Preller also today.
Yeah, which one we going to next, Chris?
Well, you got me there because I lost my notes. I did. I wrote down everything you were going to do, and then I was like,
I got it.
No.
I got it.
My page. You had another good clip. Let's just introduce it that way.
I do have a good clip, and it's all about because people were very curious about whether or not Mason Miller was going to be a starter, where he's going to fit in, and so we can say now that AJ Preller answers the question right here.
Yeah, I think adding to his strength. I talked to Schulte about it a lot. We talked about it as a group. I think it's also about getting impact performers. Mason's an A-lane, type performer, one of the best in the world at what he does. And like we've seen so far, through the first 100 games, we have an opportunity to shorten the game. You want to take that, and I think also it gives Mike an opportunity to mix and match with the pen. An opportunity certain nights to be able to go one set of relievers and give guys an opportunity to get a little bit of a rest and a blow. And be fresh of hopefully what's a long run here for the rest of the regular season and into the postseason. So, and as far as Mason, he's a talented pitcher, and we saw him as an amateur. I think our area scout Jay Koenig was all over him as an amateur. He came into our pre-draft work. I still remember talking to him on the first base line at our pre-draft work and how impressed I was by him. Kind of messed that up because I think we asked him to take a cut in the draft and from the Slav Valley, didn't want to do it. So he probably should have been a Padre a few years ago. But he's a super talented pitcher. And I think we've talked about, I think the focus now is go do his job that he's been so good at doing in the bullpen, and help us win a championship. And then we'll talk in the future. It's nice to have, 4+ years with Mason Miller. And he's a guy that brings a lot to the table, and we'll continue to see what's the best thing for him to impact the Padres as we go.
26 years old, Mason Miller, attended. I look forward to interviewing him and asking him about being a product of Gardner-Webb University.
Oh, yes.
I've actually heard of Gardner-Webb. My question is, where were some of the rest of the people who were recruiting players when he ended up at Gardner-Webb? This guy throwing 102 miles an hour.
That's what I like about baseball, is that some of these guys could come from the most random places.
He must have slipped through the cracks,
or they're not
on that one, or he just hadn't developed yet.
Exactly. That's what we've learned over the years from the players that we interview, is that sometimes they need a switch in position, like maybe they go from a starter to a reliever or something like that. But yeah, sometimes you find these gems, and Mason Miller's one of them.
Gardner-Webb, Mason Miller. All right, the other story today. With the trade deadline, we keep talking about everybody the Padres got, but how about who they didn't lose? And the main one is Dylan Cease. I thought most of us that the final glimpse of Dylan Cease was going to be giving up that grand slam the other night to the Mets.
Oof.
Exiting stage left, and we'll see you when we see you. Well, as it turns out, we'll see him again here in a few games because he's still a Padre. Here's AJ Preller talking about that.
Dylan's a tremendous pitcher. I think you're going to win. You're trying to win a World Series. You need guys that can pitch, in the front of a rotation. And Dylan is, when you get in Cy Young votes, we see the stuff. I think, I had a conversation with him yesterday, just letting him know that, like from our standpoint, it's this time of year where you hear a lot of speculation, and you're always, it's trade deadline. You're always going to pick up your phone, and when people are calling, that's a good sign that you're somebody that people have interest in. But for us, our best team in terms of it starts with that starting pitching. Getting Darvish back, hopefully getting King back, Pavetta and Cease. That's a great place to start. We think we required some other pitchers that are going to add to that mix. And for Dylan, when we made the trade last spring training, it was designed towards multiple postseason runs, hard best team has Dylan Dylan's tremendous.
Dylan Cease not going anywhere. All right, that's most of the AJ Preller stuff. I think that I'm going to leave it, the rest of it for you, Scraby, on the Chronicles.
Oh, thank you,
all
Chris.
the stuff we didn't cover today.
Yes.
Here's one last thought about trade deadline day that I think we need to, just keep handy with us. Right now, all of the trades are pretty much on paper, right? They're names that are changing locations. We have dreams dancing in our minds of what this guy's going to do and that guy's going to do and how he's going to impact this and that. But ultimately, even the best of them that were acquired have to go out and do what you're hoping they'll do. Just as an example, I'll give you this. The Reds yesterday acquired Ke'Bryan Hayes from the Pirates. I said at the time, you said at the time, Scrape, what are they doing? This guy doesn't hit, And I said, well, he's a Gold Glove winner.
Ugh.
And the Reds need defense at third base, and this is obviously what they're trading for. Well, Ke'Bryan Hayes making his debut tonight for the Reds. Bases loaded, 6th inning, 1 out. A 2-hop ground ball to him at third base that is a double play to end the inning, and he misses it.
Just whiffs.
And it goes right into left field for an error, and the game is now tied 3-3. The best laid plans, as the old saying goes, Scrape. You'd never know. The guys still have to do the job, is my point here. So, and look, Ke'Bryan Hayes may make every other play the rest of the season, but he didn't make that one.
No, that's not a great way to
that's not a great way to start.
Yourself.
Right. The Reds fans were like, oh, really? This is the guy we got to play some defense for us. Terrific. Yeah. He didn't look good on that one. But their game, Braves and Reds are tied 3-3 now. In the 6th inning, Reds begin play 3 back of the Padres in the race for the final wild card, although the Padres don't seem too interested in staying in that race. They want to go to the other race, which is to try to win the NL West. A race they're currently 3 games behind the Dodgers. Both teams idle tonight.
The Dodgers fans are in the chat sometimes.
I was going to say, what are they saying today? The Dodgers
fans are so good. Padres stink.
Then we didn't need to do anything?
I think the Dodgers fans are a little nervous.
Even if they're not nervous, I would think for the Dodgers to be this quiet, I don't think this was intentional. I got to believe the Dodgers looked into relief help. Tanner Scott is hurt. Blake Trinan's first outing was a disaster. Okay. I'm just, look, they've lost Gratterall. They've lost, was it Evan Phillips?
No, yeah.
It seems like a dozen relievers. So you would have thought for sure the Dodgers would have a new closer by now. They don't. Michael Conforto's been horrible by every account in left field. You would have thought they'd have a new left fielder by now. They don't, unless you're going to count Alex Call, who they, backup outfielder they got. So, look, the Dodgers are still good. But the fact that they did really very, pretty much nothing except one middle reliever, I think qualifies as at least a bit surprising.
See, I can't remember on the roundtable who said this, but they were saying maybe the Padres had to overpay for Mason Miller and JP Sears with DeVries because the Dodgers were going after him as well, or going after those two guys. And that's fine with me. If you have to give up DeVries to block the Dodgers from getting another great player, like that would be hard to handle.
To me, that's not good enough. To me, that might be part of it, but to me, you've got to do it if you're going to get 2 controllable players for 4 or 5 years.
Well, that's the main reason for it.
Okay. So that's, I think that that was, wouldn't have done it without that. We also should cement the Dodgers traded Dustin May today to the Red Sox. That was announced about an hour ago. Here we go. I was waiting to see
we have
who
a
they got.
prospect or something.
Yes, James Tibbs the third, an outfielder,
Tiverton
returns to the Red Sox. Here comes Mr. Tibbs. You never heard of that movie, but it was a movie.
Was that from
Here comes
1942?
You know what? No, wait, I take it back. It was not called Here Comes Mr. Tibbs. Mr. Tibbs was a character played by the great actor Sidney Poitier, in which I believe he either won his first Oscar for, I don't know. Okay. I remember.
It's been a long day,
about
everybody.
It's been a long.
You want to check traffic real quick?
Yeah, I would like to, because I need to get home, and it's from here to over there.
From the 855 Get Ross Traffic Center, protecting San Diego after accidents or injury, here's Kelly Danick.
North 805 is at it again. Crash before Plaza Boulevard. Car and pickup truck involved. Got the fast lane blocked. Southbound 5 just past Washington Street. Accident partially blocking the fast lane. Then another accident up ahead past 28th Street. This one involves a car and a pickup truck. That's in the center divide. South 163 near the 8, getting a stalled vehicle out of middle lanes. And a crash on the Community La Plaza off-ramp, South 805. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Sidney Poitier, who was one of the best actors ever, first African-American to win an Oscar.
Okay.
Have you heard his name before?
I've heard the name. I
should
Google him and see
yeah,
what
he's
he
a
looks like.
great actor. He was in a movie, and this is why I'm bringing it. The movie was called In the Heat of the Night. It was in the late
I've
seen
seen that.
mid-60s. It won the Academy Award that year for Best Picture. But the most memorable line of the whole movie is when he stands up to some sort of authority and says, "They call me Mr. Tibbs." That's where that was from.
I need to do that next time. Like Adam's mad at me.
Yeah, they call me Mr. Scraby.
Yeah, and then he's gonna be like, "I don't care."
Yeah, right. it seemed to work in the movie.
Of course, it worked in the movie.
In the movie, it seemed to work pretty well for Sidney Poitier.
Yeah,
so.
he's definitely familiar.
Oh yeah,
and I've seen In the Heat of the Night.
Good movie, Academy Award winning for a reason. There are some Academy Award winners that aren't good. That is actually one.
Like what?
I would say, I don't like Dances with Wolves.
I love that movie.
I don't like Gandhi. I hate The English Patient. There's quite a few Academy Award winners that I was not a fan of.
I forgot about the Gandhi movie.
I don't hate Gandhi personally. The movie was long and boring and really tough to sit through. The English Patient might be the worst movie I've ever seen,
really,
let alone an Academy Award winner. So they've had their share. Scrappy, what do you got coming up on the Chronicles? What could we have left you?
Well,
if anything,
I think we need to meet Mason Miller a little bit more. Braden and Frank had Dallas Braden on the show. So he has some thoughts on Mason Miller. And also Sam Levitt did an interview with Mason Miller last year.
Interesting.
And he sent it over. We'll also just talk about some of the different things. And I'm going to tackle all the people that just know more about baseball than us, Chris. They just do. So I gotta talk to them.
That's a large group.
I got some DMs today.
It's a large group of people who think they know more than we do, Scrab.
I got some DMs today that were very interesting. It's like we have the same information. I may even have more information than this person, but because they sit on their couch and they look at Fangraphs, they know more than me. It really bothers me.
Yeah, the analytics have given a lot of people a lot of strength in the belief that they have great knowledge.
I'm all for people having their own opinion, but it's when you go, "No, you're wrong." Like what? How if you're like neither of us are right, we'll see what happens. But anyway,
especially trade deadline day. You're right. I did go over to San Diego State today. And I did some stuff with the women's basketball team. They're going to have another fun season. I talked to all the kids. They're terrific. Naomi and Nat both said hi to you.
Me? Really? I was going to say, they remembered me?
No, they really didn't even remember coming in last year. No, they're great kids. I had a lot of fun there, but I saw a Dutcher walking around, getting ready for practice. I walked past him. I wanted to call him Manute Bowl. He's so tall. You know what I mean? Our guy.
Magoon
Guath. Yeah,
yes.
My goodness, he's tall. And football practice was underway. First couple of days of spring practice. Kirk Kenny was on the sideline keeping track of what was going on.
Our guy, Kirk.
That's right. Stay tuned. Chronicles next. Thanks to everybody for being part of the trade deadline coverage. And we'll see you tomorrow on Gwynn and Chris.